500,000 Sky Bet customers use deposit limits to help manage their betting budget. That's enough to fill 46 cops, 160 lofts, 19 valleys, 22 deep dales, 25 dens, or 65 six-fields. That's a lot of sports fans who know their limit. All good bookmakers have deposit limits, so whoever you bet with, set an appropriate one and enjoy the sport. Deposit limits. That's betting better.
Papa John's have got 1,000 sexy Puma team kits to give away. Come on, whack it up full blast, son. All you got to do is tuck into some pizza to enter a big prize draw. The more you eat, the better your chances.
What if there's a better way to buy your next car? Just visit Kazoo and pick out one you love. All our cars pass a thorough 300-point inspection and are carefully reconditioned. We show you every detail, so you'll know exactly what you're getting. And every car comes with a 90-day warranty, roadside assistance, and our 7-day money-back guarantee, giving you a whole week to make sure you love it. And if you don't, we'll take it back. Can you buy a quality car that's guaranteed to leave you happy? Kazoo, yeah you can.
Watch out, viruses, it's the Life Boys. Well, if you ride it and you twist it, if you pick it or you pin it, then you splash it. La 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 boy. When you pump it, can you pump it? If you push it or you swoosh it, then you bitch, bash, push it, Life Boy.
Hello everybody, welcome to the EFL On Quest. Do you have any stats on the amount of Robinsons there are managing clubs right now?
Yeah, 12.5% of all managers in League One have the surname Robinson.
Last time the one at home Star Trek was still on TV.
Yeah, and I was on it.
I never had one of them bad touches in my career.
I'm surprised you weren't sent off every
I knew that was coming.
John Yem's a little happier. He actually smiled and laughed in his post-match interview. What a time to get laugh.
You never had problems scoring at Wolves, did you?
Well, I didn't want to say it with you being at Wolves, of course, so...
I'm surprised he wasn't stretched off after that slide tackle from an unruly fan.
He is a grumpy man, and I always tell him to start smiling, and he says when he sees me, he does smile, so hopefully he's smiling.
Thanks for talking us through it.
Lovely to speak to you at last. You're very kind to me.
The humiliation of Joby McAnuff live on television. I said to you, what about Troy Deeney to Birmingham? You said I can't see it and laugh. What do you think about the possibility of Mbappe to Birmingham in the January transfer window? I mean, he's not happening.
Listen, he's on a freak on it, so you just never know, do you?
What a save! Now it's your turn to save too. Smart meters and the in-home display show you how much gas and electricity you use, so you could reduce waste and save like a pro.
Papa John's are giving away 1,000 spanking new sets of Puma kits. But none of yous are wearing it better than a Bulldog. You know what I mean? The more pizza you eat, the more chance you have of winning.
So, the other day I started a health kit.
Nice.
So Savvy Soul says...
Brand Outlet on eBay has mad deals on trainers.
I started jogging with Nobby.
Who's Nobby?
He's me doggy, but he don't do joggy. Then, the twins caught.
Certified refurbished on eBay. Changed our lives.
Certified what?
I got a blender. It's in creds. Now, I'm kitted out, but Nobby sees a squirrel, I fall over, and that's when I saw her. And she's like...
I like your shirt.
And you said?
And you said?
I got it on eBay.
And 42, Steve Seddon. On the bench, United 1, Sutton's Woods. 6, Alex Goran. 7, Ryan Williams. 10, Mark Sykes. 14, Anthony Ford. 19, Dan Agee. And 23 is Billy Foden. We'll get those on the scoreboard game between now and kickoff. And now the teams are out. You can download photos and kicks from the app or Play Store. Predict this afternoon's results and we'll kick off and give you a chance to cash prizes and exclusive on-the merchandise. You must be over the age of 18, of course. T's and C's apply. Please come on the
Once again, it's something that welcome to welcome our match sponsors for the home game. APH Construction, our guests that now match later on today. We hope you enjoy your afternoon in hospitality. You're going to showcase your brand for the Yellow Army's match sponsors. Speak to the used commercial team by emailing commercial at OUFC.UK. My board please for smoking anywhere inside the stadium to do the pitch perimeter all time before, during and after the game. That's the programme back on sale or on the ground today, £3 bargain. And the club shop open Mondays to Fridays, 10 till 5, and online all day every day, OUFCshop.co.uk. Home, away, third and tournament kits, all in stock to buy. Store online, no, of course.
Over 500,000 Sky Bet customers use deposit limits to help manage their betting budget. That's enough to fill 46 cops, 160 lofts, 19 valleys, 22 deep dales, 25 dens, or 65 six-fields. That's a lot of sports fans who know their limit. All good bookmakers have deposit limits, so whoever you bet with, set an appropriate one and enjoy the sport. Deposit limits. That's betting better.
Papa John's have got 1,000 sexy Puma team kits to give away. Come on, whack it up full blast, son. All you got to do is tuck into some pizza to enter a big prize draw. The more you eat, the better your chances.
What if there's a better way to buy your next car? Just visit Kazoo and pick out one you love. All our cars pass a thorough 300-point inspection and are carefully reconditioned. We show you every detail, so you'll know exactly what you're getting. And every car comes with a 90-day warranty, roadside assistance, and our 7-day money-back guarantee, giving you a whole week to make sure you love it. And if you don't, we'll take it back. Can you buy a quality car that's guaranteed to leave you happy? Kazoo, yeah you can.
Watch out, viruses, it's the Life Boys. Well, if you ride it and you twist it, if you pick it or you pin it, then you splash it. La 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 Life Boys. When you bump it, can you bump it? If you push it or you smush it, then you bitch, bash, bust it. Life Boys. Yeah,
everybody. Welcome to the EFL On Quest. Do you have any stats on the amount of Robinsons there are managing clubs right now?
Yeah, 12.5% of all managers in League One have the surname Robinson.
Last time the one at home Star Trek was still on TV?
Yeah, and I was on it.
I never had one of them bad touches in my career.
I'm surprised you weren't sent off every
I knew that was coming.
John Yem's a little happier. He actually smiled and laughed in his post-match interview. What a time to get that.
You never have problems scoring at Wolves, did you?
Well, I didn't want to say it with you being at Wolves support, so...
I'm surprised he wasn't stretched off after that slide tackle from an unruly fan.
He is a grumpy man, and I always tell him to start smiling, and he says when he sees me, he does smile, so hopefully he's smiling.
Thanks for talking us through it.
Lovely to speak to you at last. You're very kind to me.
The humiliation of Joby McAnuff live on television. I said to you, what about Troy Deeney to Birmingham? You said I can't see it and laugh. What do you think about the possibility of Mbappe to Birmingham in the January transfer window? I mean, he's not happy.
Listen, he's on a free on it, so you just never know, do you?
What a save! Now it's your turn to save too. Smart meters and the in-home display show you how much gas and electricity you use, so you could reduce waste and save like a pro.
Papa John's are giving away 1,000 spanking new sets of Puma kits. But none of yous are wearing it better than a Bulldog. You know what I mean? The more pizza you eat, the more chance you have of winning.
So, the other day I started a health kit.
Nice.
So Savvy Soph says...
Brand Outlet on eBay has mad deals on trainers.
I started jogging with Nobby.
Who's Nobby?
He's me doggy, but he don't do joggy. Then, the twins caught.
Certified refurbished on eBay. Changed our life.
Certified what?
I got a blender. It's in creds. Now, I'm kitted out, but Nobby sees a squirrel, I fall over, and that's when I saw her. And she's like...
I like your shirt. And you said?
And you said?
I got it on eBay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Argyle TV for this afternoon's game from the Kassam Stadium between Oxford United and Plymouth Argyle. Robert Nichol and Ian Stonebridge here with you once again to take you through yet another Sky Bet League One fixture. And it's nice to be able to say that we can watch the leaders today. We can watch the league leaders, and it's us, by the way. How nice is that to say, look, we know it's early. We know we're not going to get carried away. But Argyle are the league leaders and have something to protect a little bit today as they face what is likely to be one of the trickier games so far this season. I mentioned Ian Stonebridge is back with me again. I'll check in officially. Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, Rob. How are you doing? All right.
Am I right in saying this? Is this the trickiest game that Argyle have faced so far this season, would you say?
Well, on paper, it comes at a time, like you said, where they're top of the league, and then making sure that the team are prepared to deal with opposition that perhaps are setting up a bit more to stop them playing, as opposed to less pressure as Argyle are down the league. So it's a new problem. It's perhaps a problem that if you offered it to any manager, through the season and said, right, you're going to be top of the league at some point, and that's what you've got to deal with, they'd obviously snap your hand off. So yeah, it's a nice problem to have, and we'll see how it affects Argyle today.
Do you think that, I suppose it affects two ways, doesn't it? On one hand, it's your own, all Argyle can worry about is their own situation, their own mental state about what it means, not being complacent, etc. But I think it means something to the opposition as well, doesn't it? You're there to be shot at once you're top of the league. I know, again, that if we do points per game and games in hand and all that kind of stuff, it's not really as clear cut as one might think. But if you're Oxford United today, hey, they think they're the league leaders. We'll show them a thing or two. There is that mentality as well.
Yeah, there can be. I mean, I noticed comments from the Oxford manager in the build-up to the game, saying that Argyle are the best team in the league, and obviously, according to the league table, you can make that argument at the moment, and maybe that does build things up. But by the same token, Argyle's players can take confidence from that, and they're up there for a reason, and hopefully they can make sure that that is something that they can maintain. And for the players, it's something that every time they go out there, they can take heart from the fact, hey, you know, we've got something to protect here. We've got a really great position in the league, and it's something they want to maintain through the season.
Absolutely, and I think that you've obviously got great experience of been in Argyle teams that have not only gone up but been top of the league, not straight away at the start of the season, but around about this time when the league starts to form. And so they talk about, don't they, 10 games, or when you've played about half the opposition, you start to get a bit of an idea. But it feels like today is going to be quite a good benchmark. Oxford are unbeaten at home. They've had 6 home games this season. They've won 4 and they've drawn 2. So Argyle obviously have their own home record to protect when we're at Home Park, but we're now going to a team who are doing well themselves at home. And indeed, their last game, they won 5-1. Last home game, they won 5-1 at home to Accrington, and since then they've won at Sheffield Wednesday. So this is a tidy Oxford team. They've got a lot of depth. We'll look at their teams in a minute, and we'll see that their bench is rather strong as well. So it absolutely won't be a cakewalk in any respect.
No, definitely not. You know, that bodes well for the game in terms of it being a good spectacle today and a good test for Argyle. But you know, going back to that point about being there to be shot down, the habits that you build as a team and as a squad, you know, Argyle start to have expectations of themselves. So they go into games expecting that that everyone in the team's going to perform. You know, they can make demands of each other in the right way, and the manager and the coaching staff can make demands of the players again in the right way, with the expectation that they maintain this standard that they've set for themselves. So you know, that again is a positive thing to have to fall back on, and we hope to see it transpire again today.
Absolutely, we're still waiting for the teams to come onto the pitch at the Kassam Stadium. Just a reminder for wherever you are in the world, if you are international, you are watching this on a feed that is today provided by iFollow coverage within the ground in Oxford. And if you are listening domestically and it's just the audio, well, whoever you are and wherever you are, you're all very, very welcome. But obviously there are certain parameters that we need to work around because of the feed that we are given. So when the teams come up on the screen, we'll have a little look at the how we think they will line up. But I will give you a little couple of notes from Argyle's perspective. And the interesting thing today, Ian, really is that Ryan Hardy not in the starting lineup. He's on the bench. Our understanding, I don't have all the details from within the camp. My understanding is that it's not necessarily an injury. It's more of an illness issue that he may have had during the week. So I don't know the full details on that. But he's on the bench, a little bit similar to Joe Edwards last week. So obviously not having someone like him around. But it looks like that Jordan Garrick is going to play up front with Luke Jeffcott. So a brand new partnership between those two. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, like Hardy, we've seen that Jordan Garrick's got pace. He's got that similar kind of attributes in that respect. And we've seen him be quite effective from deeper areas in some of the games so far this season. So in theory, partnering Jordan Garrick with Jeffcott provides that balance of pace, and perhaps Luke Jeffcott in terms of his developing the play and his link-up play this season, which we've seen improve. Again, that has the features at first glance, at least, of something that can work quite well. So fingers crossed for Argyle this afternoon that they don't miss Ryan Hardy too much.
No, let's have a little full look at the Argyle starting lineup then, since we're not getting the graphics quite yet. Let's get ahead of the game and give us what we expect Argyle to be. So Mike Cooper in goal, a back three of Macaulay Gillespie, Dan Scott and James Wilson, wing backs Connor Grant and Joe Edwards, a midfield three of Ryan Broom, Jordan Houghton and Panucci Kamara, and up front we believe, as I say, Luke Jeffcott and Jordan Garrick. Argyle subs today. There's some strength on this bench, by the way. Kieran Agard, Callum Burton, Brendan Galloway, Ryan Hardy, Will Jenkins-Davis, Ryan Law and Danny Mayer. The bench is a big part of football, Ian. It's not just about the 11. We very, very rarely go through 90 minutes with just the 11. If Ryan Hardy is fit to play, let's say, 20 minutes, half an hour, he can play a big part later on in the game. Danny Mayer, as he continues his road back to fitness, we saw him for about 25 minutes in the last league game. We saw him for 45 minutes on Tuesday night in the Papa John's Trophy. The fact that you can call on players like Hardy and Mayer, and that's not to diminish the rest of the subs, by the way, because there's talent in all positions, but to be able to call on two people such as that's, you know, we will need that depth in all likelihood.
Yeah, that option becomes really, really important. And we mentioned teams perhaps setting out with more awareness of how Argyle will try to play. means they might end up getting stopped and need to make variations. I'm not suggesting that they need to have a plan B where their playing philosophy changes completely. We don't expect that to happen. But in terms of coming up with new solutions, Danny Mayer is someone that, as we saw on Tuesday night, for that spell just before half-time, really showed what we've been missing perhaps from him so far this season, in terms of that creativity, that ability to find a pass and really create something from nothing, which, as you say, can be a real asset from the bench.
The teams are in the tunnel, I understand, and should be coming onto the pitch very, very shortly. I'm also getting word that there is an issue with our FX audio behind. So I believe you can hear me and Ian just fine, but there might not be any effects behind us at the moment. The trust is that is something we are working on. Again, that doesn't come directly for Argyle TV. That's something that comes elsewhere. So we are working on getting that sorted for you if that continues to be a problem as I speak. But the players are coming out onto the field. Argyle in all white today. Oxford wearing yellow, blue and yellow. As I said, they're at home and they are unbeaten at home, so it's a big test for the Pilgrims this afternoon. And since we still haven't had the graphic on their front, perhaps we're having an issue with that as well. Let's go through what we believe the Oxford team will be. They've got Jack Stevens in goal. It'll be a back four of Sam Long, Elliot Moore, Jordan Thornley and Steve Seddon. We think the midfield three will be Cameron Brannigan, Herbie Kane and James Henry. Up front, Matty Taylor, and either side of him, Nathan Holland and Gavin White. They've played 4-3-3 for every game this season. They've usually had Alex Gorin sitting in midfield for them as their holder. He's not playing today, so we'll see who it is that's going to take that role on. But if that's correct, and we've seen the team that they've put out roughly every game this season so far, Ian, what does 4-3-3 from Oxford's perspective, what does that give as a danger to Argyle's traditional 3-5-2?
Yeah, I think that midfield area is always interesting. We talked about perhaps teams adopting a slightly different shape when they're in possession versus when they're out of possession. So again, we've seen Argyle strikers, perhaps Luke Jeffcott in previous games in particular, dropping in to sit on an opposition team's defensive midfielder to try and stifle their ability to kind of generate and create play. Likewise, we've seen opposition teams kind of switch from a 1 and a 2 to a 2 and a 1 and put more pressure on Jordan Houghton, perhaps when he's in possession, to again try and stifle Argyle's supply line in that respect. So the central midfield, in that respect, is likely to pan out in one of those two ways. Again, further up the pitch, it really depends on where that, if you're talking about a three up front, where they play, so how central they are versus how wide they are, and that will dictate perhaps whether it's a problem for Argyle's wing backs versus a problem for Argyle's three centre backs.
Yeah, that's something I want to talk to you about as the game goes on, really, because I know that certainly from seeing them last season, Oxford really like to push their full-backs on. Long and Seddon, we would anticipate will get forward a lot, so the battle of their full-backs versus our wing-backs could be a really interesting one. Oxford substitutes, by the way: Dan Adjie, Billy Bowden, goalkeeper Simon Eastwood, Anthony Ford, Alex Gorin, Matt Sykes and Ryan Williams. We're about ready to kick off. Oxford are going to get us underway this afternoon. When the referee does get us going, everyone's going to take the knee first, should they choose to, and then we'll be ready to kick off this afternoon's game. Argyle travelling to the oldest university city in the country. Can they graduate with honours this afternoon? It's going to be a tricky one, and Oxford get us underway, knocking it long down the left-hand side, but it goes straight out for an Argyle throw-in. And as the opening moments of the game play themselves out, we'll try and ensure that we can work out exactly how Oxford are lining up. I think some of the questions are over exact positions of midfielders, James Henry being the one where he can play midfield or he can play wide on the right, so we'll keep an eye on him. But Oxford have the ball at the moment at the back, and they're knocking it across their back four. This is Jordan Thornley, and now their captain Elliot Moore. And early on, Brannigan, who I anticipated would start at the centre of the three midfielders, has come very short to get it off the back, so I expect to see that. Cameron Brannigan, he's been at Oxford for a few years now, former Liverpool youngster, can do it all in midfield. He looks like he's the sitter. Oxford go long towards Taylor, little knock inside towards Holland. Argyle haven't touched the ball yet as Oxford try and get inside the area, but it's blocked off. Argyle clear it up towards Jeffcott, but can't keep the ball in. We've talked quite a bit this season about starting games and which team manages to start the best. And it feels like in a game like today, where both teams are going to want to have control of the ball, both of these are patient passing football teams, Oxford will be, obviously we're very early into this game, but they'll want to be having this kind of start. And here goes Holland, he's got past Wilson, plays the ball into the area, it's way too close to Cooper. who is able to deal with that one. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Oxford with a good start in the first 90 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. You can perhaps argue that Oxford being at home, there's slightly more pressure on them to develop their game, so Argyle entitled as a away team to perhaps allow Oxford to have a little bit of the ball in certain areas of the pitch, but they'll certainly want to impose themselves on the game as well in respect of possession as soon as they can.
Moore gets a header just in front of Garrick. Be interesting to see how he beds in up front today. And now Holland on the left-hand side. He had a busy start as the West Ham loanee. This time Wilson makes sure he doesn't get past him, but Wilson's challenge means the ball goes out of play for a corner. If you're familiar with the Kassam, the corner that Oxford will be taking is at the open end. It's a three-sided stadium. Has been ever since it was built. About 20. I think it's about the same amount of time as our three sides really for the opening of the Kassam about 20 years ago or so. It's still only three sides, and in front of that comes a left-wing corner. Jeffcott got his head to it. It's going to go out the other side for an Oxford throw, right in front of a sold-out away end. 1,800 members of the Green Army inside the ground today. I did see earlier on that there were some problems with a coach getting there that had broken down. Hopefully they've been able to make it along the relatively short trip. Oxford being only about 3.5 hours away. It's virtually a local derby, isn't it? Argyle clear the ball from that throw-in, and Thornley will pick it up easily enough in his own half and goes back to Jake Stevens, the United goalkeeper. Here's Seddon, keeping on the back four. Now Oxford will try and do this. I think similar to Argyle last season, trying to keep it along the back three. But if Argyle can pressure and win it back like they have now, Broom flicks it through. Was he caught late there? Nothing given. Henry brings it away for Oxford. Ball through the centre, cut out by Houghton. He's given it straight back to Sam Long at right back. I think he scored against them last season, didn't he? In fact, both their fullbacks scored in the game at Home Park. Good header by Wilson to Kamara. First real touch for him. Nice 1-2 with him and Edwards. Houghton and Broom getting involved. Another late challenge on Broom, but again, nothing given. Picked up in the centre by Oxford. This is Holland. Into the centre circle for Herbie Kane. Henry to Long. Plenty of early possession here for the home side. I'll go backwards and use Moore. This is very much the Oxford way of playing at the moment. It's a possession-based game. In some ways, Argyle need to be patient, don't they? Because they don't want to be chasing the ball around all afternoon doing this. It's a bit of a war of attrition in some ways.
It can be, yeah. I mean, it's not something that Argyle is going to be alien to them. We've seen teams already this season come and try and pass the ball as well. So it's making sure you remain disciplined in that shape, and then picking and choosing your opportunities to press and going as a team when that's okay. So if people chase on their own, that's where it can be easier to pick players out of the game and make progress at the pitch. So that coordination and communication in triggering that press and being effective in trying to win that ball back is important.
Oxford now go for a diagonal ball through the centre, and it's worked. Taylor picks it up, clips it over the goalkeeper. They've scored inside 5 minutes. We've spent 5 minutes talking about Oxford keeping the ball, passing it around, and for the first time they go direct through the centre. Well, it was diagonal into the run of Matty Taylor, and he has put the home side in front here to the jubilation of their fans. It was dead on the halfway line, the ball from the back. I think it was Long that played it. Lovely first touch from Taylor, took it inside of Scar, and then a clip over the goalkeeper. Let's start with the goal. From a technical perspective, that's a lovely piece of forward play from Matty Taylor.
Yeah, it is. The pass is precision. It's certainly not lumped forward. It's not a hopeful ball. It's precision. It's picked him out, and that first touch on the half volley to take it on the angle, which then draws Michael Cooper out of the goal, and he was able to lift it over him really confidently. So it's a great goal from Oxford's point of view.
That's what he does, Matty Taylor. He scores goals. It's his 4th of the season. He got 19 last year, 17 the year before. This level, he didn't necessarily have the best time when he was at Bristol City, but at this level, for teams like Forest Green, Bristol Rovers, and this is second spell at Oxford, he always scores goals. He often scores them against Argyle as well, and he's done so again today. It's a very fine start for the home side. We talked about the goal from a forwards perspective, Ian Stonebridge, but what about the defending? Could anything better have been done there?
Well, it's in that communication and the gaps between the three centre halves there. So the forwards obviously been able to exploit some space that was between the two, so they'll be wanting to get closer together and make sure that those gaps are not there, and any gap that's there is closed quickly when the ball goes forward.
Also look to build again with Gavin White. Good foot in by Broom, I think it was, just tracking back, and Argyle will have the ball with Cooper and just want to give themselves a minute or two to bed in here, and they're not doing so because Conor Grant gives it away, and it's picked up by Kane moving forward. Bit of an interchange between him and Henry. Can Kane keep it in? He can, and he plays it off of Gillespie. Everything falling at the moment for Oxford, and they've taken a quick corner as well. Henry from the right hand side whips it into the back post. He's a little bit ahead of his teammates who hadn't quite picked up on that wavelength yet. But Holland keeps it in, and then Seddon to Brannigan. This is a very accomplished start to this game for Oxford United. When you start the game well and you get a goal, it's a bit of a win double, isn't it, early on in the game. Brannigan looking to clip over the top again to find Henry. His touch is picked up on by Gillespie. And I just need to get the ball here and just breathe a little bit. That was nicely done through the midfield and out to Edwards on the right hand side. Comes in field, just needs the run in front of him. He's managed to pick out the run of Jordan Garrick, but even with Garrick's pace, he'd gone a little bit early and he's offside. From Argyle's perspective, it's just a case of trying to bed themselves in. We've said this a few times this season, but if you are going to concede a goal, at least it's early and you give yourself a little bit of time to react. The key thing is to not panic and let it go to 2.
It is definitely that's the issue here. But Oxford have really started very well and confidently in the way they're passing the ball around. And you could argue that the goals come from partly the link-up play and the shorter passing that Oxford have used up to that point, which then perhaps naturally means Argyle's defenders push on, try and get a bit tighter, and that can create gaps in between and in behind. So again, Argyle will want to try and impose their own possession on this from this point on and develop that, getting the ball forward with quality. We saw perhaps more of a hopeful ball forward that resulted in offside just then, but they'll want to kind of establish that possession in forward areas as well as at the back at the moment.
Oxford manager Carl Robinson was at Home Park last Saturday watching the Pilgrims beat Burton Albion. They weren't in action, of course, Oxford, because it was an international break in terms for them, not for their players indeed, but the team that they were meant to be playing hadn't had enough internationals at the game called off. So Carl Robinson took advantage of that by coming in and having a look at Argyle, as well as I believe playing a couple of Cornwall's finer golf courses. But whatever he learnt seems to have paid off for him so far, and although he and Ryan Lowe are quite good mates, it's the Oxford man who so far has got one over his fellow Liverpudlian. 9 minutes played, Oxford United 1, Plymouth Argyle 0, and the ball is with the home side in their own penalty area at the feet of goalkeeper Jack Stevens. And we'll look ahead and play it down the left-hand side across the halfway line over everybody. I think it didn't get a touch, and it should be an Argyle throw. James Wilson wants to take it, but Joe Edwards pulls rank, the skipper, and says, nope, I shall take it. And there's just a noticeable level of calm there from Edwards. I think Argyle just trying to settle themselves down and try and just calmly build their way back into this game, because all the momentum at the moment is with Oxford, and Wilson just tries to get round Holland. Didn't, and Holland nicked it off of him, but it's gone out for a goal kick. Noticeably different that when Argyle have the ball at the back there, Oxford are pressing up, whereas when Oxford had it at the other end, Argyle seemed to be letting them do so. Yeah, perhaps it's because of the fact that was a throw-in and Oxford had that chance to set up in that way. So they had a bit more pressure and were able to get closer to Mike Cooper when the ball went back to him, which meant Mike came back the same way, and perhaps that made it harder for Argyle to get out of that occasion. Grant came in field, his touch was a little bit heavy, and he pushed, well, I thought he pushed Kane to the ground. Actually, the referee's given the free kick to Argyle, presumably for handball, because I think Kane must have fallen on it and grabbed it with his hand. So this one goes Argyle's way there. It's taken short and is now at the back with Dan Scarr. Wants to play it through into Broom, then Houghton up towards Garrick, but easy for Elliot Moore to win that one. His ball back to the goalkeeper. For a second looked a bit short, but Stevens got there clearly before Jeffcott. His clearance is picked up by White Shirts. Jeffcott down the left-hand side to Garrick. First real chance for Argyle. Garrick cutting in from the left-hand side. Kamara arrives. Jeffcott's inside. Garrick does it alone. Curls it into the corner. What a finish from Jordan Garrick. Argyle have levelled. Only a few minutes after going behind, Garrick sent off down the left-hand side with a little flick from Jeffcott, and he was weighing up the options inside him and decided, I'll do it myself. He skipped past Thornley and then a precise low finish into the corner. 11 minutes gone, it's 1-1, game on. Fantastic goal. It's that combination that we perhaps highlighted before the game in terms of Luke Jeffcott linking the play up and being able to combine with his strike partner there, Garrick's pace, and then showing great skill as he cut inside and curled it into that far corner. it has to be said, after 11 minutes of this game, Argyle haven't really been in it. That's the first time they've got forward, the first real chance created, but a great finish from Jordan Garrick, and talk about a reaction to going behind, or at least a match momentum switching moment. This has taken on a rather different approach already.
It has. The next 5 minutes will be really interesting, so we really hope now that Argyle can be the ones that now gain confidence from that and start to establish their own patterns of possession in this game rather than Oxford, as they have done so far.
In this run so far, Argyle unbeaten since the first day of the season in the league, have not only gone all those games unbeaten, 11 games unbeaten, but they have scored in all of those games. We'll make that 12 in a row that Argyle have scored in the league, and it's another different goal scorer. Jordan Garrick grabbing his goal, curling it into the corner. It was a very precise finish. It was really nicely done. And he's on the ball again, playing it outside to Broom. Here come the Pilgrims once more. Broom making the run. Garrick runs in front of him, gets hold of it. Can he cut it back towards Kamara? Oh, he nearly did. It wasn't a bad ball at all, but it was cut out by an Oxford leg. Now they'll try and break away down the right-hand side. Long ball by Kane. Should be easily picked up by Wilson, and is. His header falls to an Oxford foot, though, and it's down the left-hand side towards Holland. That's too heavy, and out for a goal kick. Well, Argyle not only show signs in terms of the equaliser, but within a minute or so, looking for a similar sort of burst. Broom and Garrick showing their pace and link-up play. It's if you're an Oxford defender, suddenly you've only had to defend against a couple of attacks, but they've both been extraordinarily dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. You could argue that Oxford benefited from their early possession in terms of that creating a chance for their goal, but now, perhaps, as you said, the lack of defensive testing that they've had up to this point has meant they've been caught cold a couple of times. And Argyle really, capitalising on that change in momentum and looking much more confident and comfortable here.
We often talk about how Argyle look attacking down the left more than the right, and now whether that's George Cooper and Danny Mayer or whether it's Connor Grant and Ryan Broom, it always seems to go down that left-hand side, and often Ryan Hardy is a part of that, isn't he, playing from up front and drifting on that left-hand side. Jordan Garrick seems to have fitted in there very, very snugly.
Yeah, in lots of ways it's justified the manager and the coaching staff selection there, where perhaps there were a few different options they could take in terms of replacing Ryan Hardy, but they've chosen Garrick and he's come up trump so far. Great
skill here by Gavin White, beating 2 or 3 Argyle players. Eventually he's tackled by James Wilson. It's a great break from the on loan Cardiff man, getting down the left-hand side there, but Argyle do snuff it out, and then they're going to look to try and build again with Grant across the halfway line, inside to Ryan Broom. Grant's on again outside him, bit of a 2-on-1 situation. Grant looks for an early cross into the middle, looking for Jeffcott, didn't get to him, and then nicely done by Kane to try and bring it away. Ball's back with Stevens, the goalkeeper, and he clears down the right-hand side, looking towards Henry. Argyle win the header, and now it's Oxford's turn to have the ball, and just to say, maybe we'll calm it down, maybe we'll stop the sudden momentum that our visitors have brought to us. But whichever this way this ends up going, certainly an exciting opening 15 or so minutes here, Ian. I'm not sure we were expecting it to quite explode that way, but it's a fun watch so far.
It is. The difference there as well, though, is that because Argyle are further up the pitch, and they have been with their possession, when they've lost it, they're in a better position to put more pressure on Oxford.
Super ball from Gillespie down the channel, and Broom has managed to just about keep it going, right by the corner flag on the left-hand side. Inside towards Garrick, inside the area. Can he pick out Jeffcott across the area? Oh, it's blocked off by Thornley. Kamara was arriving again. It's about the 3rd time Argyle have got into the area and in that left channel. This time it was Jordan Thornley who blocked it off, but there is certainly a very noticeable area which Argyle are finding their feet. They had the ball there, and a foul was given for a free kick, for a foul on Connor Grant. Panucci Kamara wanted to carry on. He'd skipped in field, admittedly only just inside Oxford territory, but the referee blows his whistle. Argyle will have a free kick. Jordan Houghton on it, just being told to go back a couple of yards, or go wider a couple of yards anyway, but still plenty away from the area here, maybe 45-50 yards from goal, but Argyle look like they're going to try and sling this into the middle and create something from the set piece here.
It does, yeah. Obviously their normal style of playing is to develop possession, but when you've got people that can deliver the ball into the box, and obviously you'd expect to see a couple of the central defenders up looking to attack this and see what they can do.
It's still quite a long way out, but Houghton and Grant are over it. It actually shocked me if they do a little short one between the two of them, but Houghton's body language is that he's going to sling it into the far post. Here he comes, Houghton clips it in towards the area, edge of the box. Oxford clear it away. Grant will have to shovel this one back to Mike Cooper. who plays it straight back to Grant. Talk to us a little bit, Ian, about the psychology of scoring a goal so quickly like that. I've mentioned before that I think sometimes you'd rather be 1-1 having scored the second goal than you would be at 0-0 because there's a real momentum thing about it. There's a real psychological thing to that. Actually, I'll leave that because Kamara goes towards Jeffcott. That's blocked off. Argyle throw in a high area. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, there is. I mean, it's that shift in momentum and the fact that Oxford came out and dominated that first little spell and got a goal. So the fact that Argyle were basically able to score with almost their first foray into Oxford territory can make a huge difference.
Wilson into the feet of Garrick. That was just away from Argyle's goal scorer, and Oxford can clear. Taylor battles in the air with Scar. Neither of them really clearly won it, but Gillespie was able to mop up.
Again, you can see the clear difference now already where Oxford are having to clear the ball rather than pass the ball at the moment, and Argyle picking up much more of those second balls, which is allowing them to develop their own possession.
Played inside, Brannigan inside his own half, looks for a long diagonal ball down the right hand side towards Henry, and he's kicked him out as well. Good ball by Brannigan. Henry down the right, looks to come in field away from Gillespie, who gets his foot on it, and it'll be an Oxford corner. We'll deal with this this corner, and I just want to ask you about their setup, Oxford, because we've talked about the 4-3-3, but I'm not sure whether they are a little bit similar to how the graphic suggested in terms of 3 support players. We'll deal with that after the corner. It's going to be Henry to take it from the right hand side. Oxford looking to get themselves into lead for a second time. Low ball into the near post. There's Jeffcott for the second time today, dealing with a corner by being the man at the front post. Shot from distance, deflected out to the right hand side. Henry stabs across into the centre again. Should be okay because Wilson sees it out to right back area. I was going to say calmly, maybe a bit too calmly, beats Taylor, and now Edwards gets himself in a little bit of a tiz, but it's actually going to be a goal kick. Argyle maybe a bit too calm trying to clear that ball away, but it has led to a goal kick for them as we get to 18.5 minutes. Still Oxford 1, Argyle 1. Yeah, any thoughts on their lineup so far? It seems to me that Gavin White's been given quite a freedom in the centre there, with Brannigan and Kane sitting a little bit deeper.
Yeah, they've certainly used those deeper midfielders to develop the ball and develop possession, but as I said, we've seen that Argyle have managed to kind of stop that in the last few minutes. You know, key feature as well for Oxford is those wide players in forward areas who have, you know, certainly at the very start of the game were giving Argyle plenty of problems. But again, it's how that transpires as the game goes on, and perhaps as Argyle start to recognise Oxford's shape and adjust their own position out of possession to do that.
It's a bit of an inversion of the 3, isn't it, in midfield? Rather than having a sitter and 2 other side, you know, White is up on Houghton, isn't he, really? Let's come back to that, because Argyle have it with Connor Grant. Crosses from the left. I think it was Jeffcott that got the header on it, but it was a long way out, and the momentum of the ball made it hard to do anything with it. He heads over the bar. But it's another incursion for the Pilgrims down the left-hand side. Not a bad ball by Connor Grant, but it was ever so slightly behind Jeffcott, wasn't he? He had to switch his body around. It was a tough header.
It was a tough header, and as you mentioned, a long way out, so he would have done well to get that on target and with enough power. But again, promising there to see Argyle committing players forward. Joe Edwards looking to get in the box, and Gillespie even, you know, hinting at an overlap there. We saw some of that on Tuesday night to good effect. So again, some promising signs from Argyle.
I remember a particularly fine Ian Stonebridge header in front of the Devonport end once that was similar to that. I think it was against Cardiff, but I might be wrong. We'll come back to that. Maybe we'll talk about that at half time. But it's Oxford going forward now. Free kick given for a push right on the halfway line for Argyle. Just starting to see some signs of frustration from the home team. I think they thought for the first 11 minutes it was not going to be a bit of a stroll this afternoon, and I'm sure they knew it was going to be a bit of a test, but they were very much on top and had their goal, and now suddenly they look a little bit frustrated.
Yeah, it's great from Argyle's point of view the way they've been able to change this around. The goal clearly is a big part of that, so you know, owe quite a lot to Jordan Garrick and his combination with Jeffcott and the fantastic finish which has given that positivity.
Grant into Jeffcott, takes his touch, spreads it out to Wilson, who crosses the halfway line on the right hand side, plays the ball in the channel looking for Garrick. It's clear that Garrick and Jeffcott are switching and swapping, because the last couple of times we've seen Jordan Garrick pop up, it's been on the right. So just trying to test Oxford on both sides with his pace. Scar wins a header on the halfway line.
Again, you look there at where Argyle's players are, and because they're so much further forward in the Oxford half, they're able to get closer, and Oxford again just having to clear the ball rather than being able to put their foot on it and develop their possession in the way they want to.
More signs of that frustration, because Taylor had a free kick given against him for a foul on Scar. Argyle took it short and have now worked along their back line and back to Mike Cooper. flicks the ball forward towards Broom. Got something on it. Elliot Moore clears away from Luke Jeffcott, and then Henry infield to Gavin Wright. Seddon joins in from left back. He likes to get forward to Seddon. The fact that we've not seen him too much is a good thing, but now Holland down the left-hand side, crossing position, fires it across the centre. Oh, and it's missed everybody and gone out the other side. As a centre forward, Ian, you'd love to see that ball coming in, wouldn't you? That's nothing wrong with that delivery as far as I'm concerned. That was a great ball across the 6, but none of the Oxford players could quite keep up with it.
Absolutely, you know, the manager would be disappointed they've not been able to get anyone to commit or gamble on that, and it could have been an easy tackle.
Ball is now with Cooper. Taylor again with his arms outstretched, appealing to the referee, saying he was being manhandled by Dan Scarr. Nothing doing from the referee, who has been unsympathetic to Taylor and his teammates so far. I'll look for Garrick again in the channel. Thornley deals with it. It's cleared away by Stevens, but out for an Argyle throw. We're pretty much at the midway point of the first half. 22.5 minutes played. Oxford United 1, Plymouth Argyle 1. Here on Argyle TV. Rob McNichol and Ian Stonebridge with you as the Pilgrims look to continue that run. 11 unbeaten, top of the league. Can they keep things going? They've got the equalising goal, having gone a goal down, and they're seeking a second. Garrett to the byline. He's just overrun that one. He is quick, but he's not rolling on it, and that's going to go out of play for an Oxford goal kick. But we're talking about a game of two halves. We're talking about a game of two sets of 11 or 12 minutes here, because until Argyle equalised, frankly, they were barely in this game at all, and since they've scored up to, they've been the better team for the last 10 minutes.
Definitely, yeah, and it's, as you said, it's that switch of momentum that's really given Argyle confidence to take the game to Oxford. You know, from the start they were playing it around. Now they've got the goal kick. Argyle been able to set up in a way which forces them to go longer, and again it then becomes more of a fight ball than about any team's quality.
Scarr having to defend against Taylor. It was a bit of a slice in the air, but Argyle hunting in packs, and Gillespie is able to cover round and just nod back to Cooper. Rolled back to Gillespie and then to Grant. Early ball looking in towards Garrick. Back to goal, but he's learnt one or two things perhaps from Kieran Agard. We've seen him do some great work in that position back in. He did really well there. Garrick plays it out to the left hand side for Broom. Kane comes out to meet him. Broom switches onto his right foot, tries to cross. To be fair to Kane, good defending, but Broom has won it back and interchanges with Connor Grant. Cross from Broom over Jeffcott, headed down by Edwards, falls to Kamara. Good save. Or was it saved or was it hit the post? Not quite sure. It went so fast. Kamara with a shot on the turn. If they've managed to keep it out of Oxford, Argyle have it at the back at the moment. But he did a lot right there, Panucci Kamara, didn't he? Swinging, he caught it really, really nicely on the turn. Edwards having just nodded the ball down. Argyle have a free kick for Scarr getting fouled at the back. What do you make of that chance?
Yeah, again, you know, some good play over on the left-hand side, creating that opportunity to cross it. Perhaps Broom taking Oxford by surprise in that he swung his left foot and clipped it over. Not, you know, the sort of cross perhaps that you would score from first time, but again, it's those second balls that are often key, and Joe Edwards able to kind of tee it up for Kamara, and it looked like a fantastic strike.
I'm going to get a chance to see it again. The initial cross that bounced over everybody, it was a really nice header down by Edwards, and Kamara didn't have a lot of time. I think it hit the post, didn't it?
Yeah,
my initial reaction was that it was a save, but it's come off the post there. Kamara perfectly positioned, and as the ball bounced, he barely even knew it was there. It had gone over him in the first instance, but take it down on your thigh and to hit it with your second touch, that's very, very tricky to do.
Yeah, the difference inside the box is sometimes those minute reactions, that if you can react quicker than someone else, and as the ball went over his head, he did so and was able to get that clean strike on goal.
I have Garrick in behind again, but he's this time offside. I think we've seen about 4 or 5 times Garrick get in behind. A couple he's been off, but you sort of don't mind that rate. You'll be happy to be offside 5 or 6 times out of 10 if the other 3 or 4 or 5 give you that opportunity, because they look like they're struggling, the two centre halves for Oxford with his pace.
Yeah, in lots of ways it's the variety that can create the problem for the defender. So we've seen Garrett go if you like longer in behind a couple of times, but we also saw for his finish, his goal, he cut inside. You know, letting those defenders know that you can do both of those things means that they're in two minds whenever he's on the ball, and that can be great for Argyle.
This time a touch from Garrick is a little heavy. Elliot Moore picks it up, plays it to Sam Long down the right hand side. It's led to an Oxford throw in. Both of those have had their travails this season, Long and Moore. They would be first choices, but they've only played a few games between them. Long had a calf injury and COVID at the start of this season, which have laid him low. Elliot Moore, this is one of the better reasons for not playing. He had a chest infection and then he hurt his back getting in the car. So one for the old injury board, wasn't it, years ago on They Think It's All Over, reasons for being injured, getting in the car. There we go. He's back now and he's a good player, to be fair to him, Elliot Moore. He was never present last season. He's Oxford's captain and he wins a header there, knocking it long. Argyle pick it up. Gillespie back to Scar. A little bit of pressure on Scar to play it before his man got near him, and another ball forward leads to an offside. So take it quickly, and then Brannigan down the left, down the right I should say, to Henry. Whips an early ball in. Wilson, that was a tricky one. He had to meet that one on the half volley with Taylor swooping behind him had he missed it. Wilson just helps it on and deals with that ball. But that's a couple of times in the last 5 minutes or so when Oxford have got the ball wide. They've looked for a really early cross in. It's not really paid off for them, but you as a defensive unit, you don't want to see that too often, do you?
That was an awkward ball for Argyle to deal with in the end, and I think perhaps it came from the fact they took a quick free kick. So getting organised slightly quicker, making sure that communication is there to set up their shape and to stop Oxford exploiting those opportunities.
Oxford corner on the left-hand side. It's going to be Henry to take it. It's taken all of their set pieces so far has James Henry, one of the more experienced players in the Oxford side, 32 now. Takes the corner from the left-hand side. It's a decent delivery. Once again, it's Jeffcott that gets his head to it, but this time it's straight up in the air. Scar meets it for the second time. Back in by Kane. Taylor manages to keep it alive for Oxford. Henry again, different angle, whips it in again. Cooper gets his angles correct and lets it go over his head and out for a goal kick. It was actually Holland by looking at things, actually that swung that back in. He'd been out wide for the corner as another option, but it was a little overhit. Maybe getting a little bit closer on some of these set pieces now, Oxford, and they've got another one for a foul by Ryan Broom just inside Argyle's territory. But interesting positioning of Jeffcott at that near post in that hole. All of the corners so far he's got his head to. And the job you ever had to do as coming back as a forward?
I think probably, yeah, at some point, and I'm not suggesting this is why it's given to me, but it can be a really important one at times where, anything that drops short, you can be the first line of defence, and to try and get a decent clearance on it can be vital, obviously. On that one just now we saw the value of Dan Scar and his kind of aerial dominance in that he got the second ball after Jeffcott wasn't quite able to get a clean header away on it.
Argyle ball in the middle of the park with Houghton. Gillespie into the feet of Broom. Two around him, so he plays it off early to Grant. And we'll go along their back three through Scar and now out to Wilson. Oxford continue to press. Every Argyle player receiving the ball with a yellow shirt behind him. Speaking of behind him, Edwards' ball is behind Wilson, but given the casual way that Wilson let that go out of play, he knows it got a little nick off of an Oxford player, so it is an Argyle throw. Edwards looks down the line and infield. What can he find? He throws it onto Scar's right foot. I think he was looking for Scar to volley that up the park there, and Scar suddenly thought he was Franz Beckenbauer, so bringing it out from the back, but he managed to keep hold of it. And Houghton has it next. Gillespie and now Grant down the channel looking for the run of Garrick. There he goes again, gets in front of Moore, and now he's able to turn with the ball at his feet, trying to get himself outside or inside of Elliot Moore. Tees up Grant, his cross. It's Kamara again arriving. It's a header into the deck. It bounces up in the air and the goalkeeper deals with it. You're told to head it down, but that was a little too much of a head down. It took the momentum off the ball, and now Oxford look to break. Great chance here going through for White, and Scar has cleaned him out. It's going to be a booking. Matt Taylor, who's been the referee's shadow throughout the game and has already had a ticking off for being in his ear, is, I think, suggesting that Scar should face the ultimate consequence for this one, but I'm fairly certain it'll be a yellow card, won't it?
Yeah, clearly it's late, and it's for me it's a straightforward yellow there. Scar perhaps recognising he didn't want him to progress any further than he had done, and it's a fairly simple one for the referee, I would suggest. Yeah,
committed entirely. The ball came through, and it just, I think it was one of those tantalising balls for a defender that you think you can get to, but actually, given the pace of White and he managed to get there first, that was either going to be the best tackle of the game, or it was going to be a booking, wasn't it? It was all that could possibly happen there.
It was, yeah, and it's come from that situation, when the game's in transition. Argyle just had the ball in their box, committing a few players forward, and as that change in possession happens, Oxford able to kind of counter-attack quickly and create a promising situation for them.
Scar gets a yellow card. I think that's his fourth of the season, so he's going to be another one just walking a bit of a tightrope, similar to Jordan Houghton, who's also on 4. Henry to take a free kick on the left-hand side for Oxford. Garrick is a one-man wall. Just to his left, to his right is Ryan Broom, just watching for the short one. Henry delivers. It's a really nice ball to the far post. Good punch by Cooper. He goes out as far as Kane on the edge of the area. Can he send the ball back in? Does so, low to the near post. Argyle half clear, but it's still inside the area. Thornley trying to get out from under his feet, and now Kamara wins it back and tries to burst away. It's a bit behind Garrick. Oxford will mop up. They'll eventually go back to their goalkeeper. Another good ball in from James Henry, but Cooper doing that thing that goalkeepers are taught these days. If you're not sure coming through a crowd, get a fist on it.
Yeah, it was an effective clearance in the end, and Mike was able to get back in his goal, and Argyle, had enough players around the ball to deal with that. Luke Jeffcott working hard with Jordan Houghton to make sure there was no opportunity to get a shot away there.
Ball is at the back for Oxford with their goalkeeper Stevens. Steps outside of his area and goes long. It should be easy enough for Wilson. I thought he might have headed that backwards then, but tries to head it away. Edwards helps it forward towards Jeffcott, but it just gets caught on the breeze, and this time Wilson does just nod one back to Cooper. Coming up for 33 minutes played at the Kassam Stadium. Oxford 1, Argyle 1, an entertaining and open game. We've had some swings of momentum. Oxford starting very brightly, thoroughly deserving their lead early on. Argyle equalising from essentially their first foray forward, but then having a good spell on top. Feels like Oxford might be just having their latest go on the attacking pendulum at the moment. They'll have been happier than Argyle over the last 10 minutes or so, would you say?
Yeah, they would, although it's certainly not been as convincing as their first few minutes, in terms of the possession they've created. Instead, they've capitalised a little bit more on kind of getting the ball forward into areas, dangerous areas, slightly earlier perhaps, and Argyle have had to defend, and they've done the defending they've had to do so far on that. So Argyle will really want to try and get back, in the Oxford half, make some more positive progress before half time.
Argyle will have a throw on the left-hand side. Just waiting to get the ball back at the moment is Connor Grant, just inside Oxford territory on the left flank, looking for some movement. It comes from Broom. Grant will have to go back to Gillespie, who tries to turn away from Henry. Did a really good job actually. Had to, because had he lost it, Oxford were in. Houghton spreads it to the right. Edwards has to go backwards towards Wilson. Again, Oxford continue to press really heavily whenever Argyle have the ball, and they've done so effectively here. They've won it back with Holland. Brannigan going backwards holds the ball as well to Kane in the centre of the park. And eventually gone back to the goalkeeper. Don't think they would have quite crossed over Herbie Kane and Cameron Brannigan at Liverpool, but that's both where they started. Brannigan's about 3 or 4 years older, but they've obviously got that grounding, and if you're able to play a little bit if you're good enough to play for Liverpool when you're a young man, and only a couple of years ago Herbie Kane cost Barnsley over $1 million, so they've got some accomplished players in the centre, and they're starting to get on the ball a wee bit more. Taylor comes off the front for Oxford in his trip by Kamara. Dummies to take it quickly, and will presumably leave it. No, and then Brannigan is able to push it out towards Holland as Oxford again goes short and try and catch Argyle out. Brannigan, Holland lets it run across him on the right hand side, gets to the edge of the area. Broom is back there defending, can only clear as far as Brannigan. Inside the D, goes down under a shoulder to shoulder tackle with Houghton. Fair, says the referee. Argyle clear, looking for Garrick. Mopped up by Oxford, and Thornley will turn back. In fact, it's Moore turns back and plays it to his goalkeeper. Long down the left hand side, out of play. Argyle throw. We're going to have a brief stoppage because Brannigan has just stayed down on the edge of the area, so there'll be a pause. We're just under 10 minutes to go until half time. What will Ryan Lowe's assessment be, do you think, of the first half so far? He'll be happy with Argyle's reaction, he'll be happy with some of their attacking play, but there's still plenty to iron out in this game.
Yeah, there is. I mean, certainly after that first spell in the game and falling behind, he'll be delighted with where Argyle have got back to in this game so far, and the real positives so far have been the problems that Jordan Garrick has caused Oxford at the back, and the fact that after that if you like that disappointing start, Argyle have been able to come back into this game and impose themselves. But having said that, like you say, Oxford's still looking dangerous and still creating their own opportunities. Although it's really good to see just then as Oxford came inside and looked to threaten the goal, Argyle really compact, getting plenty of players into that central area and able to clear the ball and defend it effectively.
It still feels like it's a hugely important battle, the the 3v3 in the centre. You're seeing Broom having to come back and defend there, but then on the other hand, we saw Brannigan and Kane trying to dictate the play deep in their own half. So I still get the feeling that that's where the game could well be won or lost. I know most games are, but this one in particular, I feel like there's both teams have very strong players in the central midfield.
Yeah, ultimately, the dangerous part from Argyle's perspective is when that ball's in that central area. Having the ball on the wing or developing possession at the back for Oxford is one thing, but obviously they do that with the aim of creating opportunities further up the pitch. So, so far Argyle's defending, perhaps other than that early goal when there was a bit too much of a gap between the two of the centre halves and allowed that forward player through. Other than that, we've looked reasonably effective so far.
We'll restart with the ball with the Oxford goalkeeper Stevens. Been with Oxford throughout his career, this Jack Stevens, 24 now, but he's really just broke into the team last season. He's been linked with a few Premier League clubs, including Aston Villa. Just remains with Oxford for the time being. That looked like a foul in the midfield there by Brannigan on Kamara. Sort of led with the knee there, jumping for the header. Just caught Kamara in the small of the back. Don't think it will be anything more than a free kick. Brannigan helping Kamara to his feet. Argyle will have a free kick inside their own territory. Scar just for a second looked to fire one forward, but thought better of it. And will consider his options. So just looking for some movement in front of him is Dan Scar. Very much a game of cat and mouse, and he eventually takes it and goes into Jeffcott's feet. They were definitely looking for something specific there, Argyle. It didn't come off though, because Edwards got caught on the ball by Seddon, and Holland burst down the left-hand side. His ball inside is cut out by the energetic Ryan Broom to Connor Grant, inside his man, tries to play it through, right-footed, great ball from Grant into Jeffcott, edge of the box, behind Garrick, falls to Kamara, it's in! Argyle are in front! A sudden breakaway, instigated by Ryan Broom, out to the left-hand side, Grant's ball to Jeffcott, and then I'm not sure if the ball intended for Garrick or not, but it went behind Jordan Garrick. Kamara continued that run from midfield, he loves those bursts, and it's all about the finish. I'm seeing a replay and I do think he meant it, Jeffcott, perfectly in the path of Kamara, and the man who struck a post earlier on in the game goes inside the post this time. Argyle lead 2-1.
Yeah, it's a lethal counter-attack from Argyle. We talked about the potential perhaps for those transitions to be the key moments. Ryan Broom winning the ball back, feeding Connor Grant, and from that point on, very, very quick that Argyle got the ball in the net. Luke Jeffcott looked to me like he had a good look up and was able to see that there was going to be space. Jordan Garrick taking the defenders into the box and Kamara arriving just behind.
Lovely finish. He's the kind of player, Panucci Kamara, I'm always saying I think should have more goals to his name, but I love his knack of arriving into the area at the right time. We've seen it several times today, and to have that, in fact we might talk a bit more about that at half time. I think it's something we can go into on a bit more depth, but Panucci Kamara scoring Argyle's second goal this afternoon, and I talked about them coming to Oxford, a university city, and trying to graduate with honours. Well, at the moment they've got a 2-1. Let's see if they can improve. Long way to go. Kamara in midfield, this time gives the ball away. Kane looks over the top towards Henry, who picks it up edge of the box, shoots from distance. He pulled it wide. James Henry, he's actually got 5 goals this season himself, so he's no stranger to making the net bulge. But Argyle taking that lead through Panucci Kamara. It's his second goal of the season, it's his first in the league, and it's given Argyle a great position so far. We're just under 5 minutes until half time, plus whatever is added on. I think it'll be maybe a couple of minutes. We've seen some goals and we've seen an injury as well, so I would think 2 to be added on. The mentality at this stage now is just make sure you get yourself into half time, isn't it, with the lead, and then react from there, because the last thing you want to do is once again go in level. But there's a real mentality and a real bonus, isn't there, to having the lead at half time.
Yeah, we're perhaps used to this term game management nowadays in football, where teams perhaps towards the end of games talk about trying to manage possession, manage the flow of the game in order to maintain a position that they have, and Argyle are in that kind of position now, even though it's leading into half time. But again, they should keep going forwards and keep capitalising on any opportunities, because again they can capitalise on that shift in momentum.
Just trying to burst in the box there between Jeffcott and Edwards, didn't quite come off. Now Kamara comes across, wins the ball. That's an Argyle throw. Did really well there, Kamara, with the other side of his game. the one that we're probably more used to seeing, which is his boundless energy in midfield, just niggling away to get the ball back, and there he did it to good effect. Won it from the Oxford player, and now Edwards takes a throw, which leads to a further throw. Brannigan was just a little bit keen to get into his fellow number 8 there, which Edwards I think acknowledges and just says, calm down. Thrown down the line, flicked on by an Oxford head. Garrett gets in front of the defender, tries to see it out for a corner, which I think he's done. Or is he no, I think he's given a free kick actually, the referee, is he? He's given a free kick for a pull by Seddon on Garrick, which to me suggests that the ball didn't quite cross the line, because I think he probably would have let it go for a corner otherwise, but he's given a decision. So Argyle free kick on the right hand side. It's maybe 1-2 yards outside of the area, but down the right wing, about 10 yards or so in from the corner flag diagonally. Interesting position to have a set piece from. Houghton's right foot or Grant's left. If there is room, I think Grant would probably like to fizz this, almost fire it at the far post and see if it gets a touch. What do you think, Ian?
Yeah, he's slightly more purposeful in the way he's lining up, so it looks like it's going to be Grant to take this.
Who's it going to be? There's a one-man Oxford wall. There's at least one Oxford player standing very, very close to the near post. I think they're worried that Connor will try and sneak one in there. But my instinct is that you'll get a Grant fizz low. Whips it in. It's flicked on. Oh, it just went up in the air from Scar's header. And Oxford are able to clear it away. No real danger here. And it goes through to Cooper at the other end. That was one of those where it was the right thing to do, but it was also the obvious thing to do. So I suppose Oxford are able to set up from that, but they are tough ones to defend, aren't they, when they're whipped in at pace?
They are. It's going to be really congested, you know, with the free kick being so close to the box, and obviously lots of players looking to get in there and try and take the opportunity. So as that ball comes in, it can be a little bit of luck as to where it drops. On that occasion, not quite right for Argyle.
Long ball up towards Jeffcott, didn't quite win this one. Oxford will have to hit it long in response. Scar's header flicked on by Houghton, and then really nicely done by Broom, just mopping up outside of the foot towards Grant, plays it through towards Kamara. Oxford tackle and out for another throw in. Ryan Broom is an attacking midfielder. He gets forward and creates things, but he is more than happy to get in and do some dirty work as well, isn't he? What an acquisition he's been so far.
Yeah, he's been great and taking up good positions, being there when the play breaks down, and almost more importantly than that, having that technical ability to just calm the game down and you know, allow Argyle to retain possession.
Oxford down their right hand side in towards Henry. Oh, it missed him out, but it falls to White, who plays it back to Henry again. Crowded out by 3 Argyle players, but the ball once again falls to Henry, and he goes inside again to Gavin White, edge of the box, teed up to try and play it through the centre for long. It's going to eventually fall for Taylor, hits it on the spin. Wasn't a bad effort. Cooper diving away to his right, it goes wide. It's a goal kick. It's another one of those occasions where any loose ball in the middle that falls to Matty Taylor is always going to be a danger. He is a proper centre forward in the old-fashioned mode, isn't he, Matt Taylor? He's a goal scorer. It was nearly a bit of fortune then because it deflected off of Gillespie, but he did everything right except get it on target. Good effort from Taylor.
It was. You can see the inventiveness there of the feinting one way and letting the ball run across to create that space for the shot. And fortunately for Argyle, it's just gone the wrong side of the post from Oxford's point of view.
He's the kind of player, is Taylor, as Argyle win a free kick just inside their own half for a push on Houghton. He's the kind of player, I think, Taylor, that I always notice as a commentator. I don't say his name all that often, but when you do, it's in a position where it's a threat, because he's not one that will come short and play off the front or be a target man or anything like that. He is just there to score goals, isn't he? That is literally what he's there to do, but he's very, very good at it.
Yeah, the nature of Oxford's system means it's his job to make sure he's there if the ball comes in, and he's there on that occasion.
Grant down the line to Garrett. We're in the first minute of 2 to be added on. Jordan Garrett spins away from his man on the wing, gets past Kane, plays it to Broom, to the byline. Can he get a cross in? He's got 2 Oxford players round him, but goes back to Grant. High ball in from Grant, should be the goalkeeper's. It was, and he dropped it. Seddon clears it away. Jack Stevens wasn't under a lot of pressure there, just a nervy attempt at a catch that he dropped. And Argyle will have a throw high on the right hand side as we have a minute left to go according to the 2 minutes added. And it might just be the Pilgrims that get one final flourish in this half.
Yeah, you see there Oxford perhaps expecting Garrett to just try and keep possession in the corner, but he saw the opportunity to spin and do something else, and end result is a cross for Argyle in a promising position.
Thrown in by Edwards. Seddon defends. Edwards gets a foot on it. Off an Oxford player, another Argyle throw. It's going to be Edwards to take it. Into Jeffcott again. Joe Edwards, Jeffcott. Argyle keeping it on the right hand side. Kamara tries to play it through towards Garrick again, right to the byline. Looking for a similar sort of turn and away, and he does have done it again. That's twice he's done it to Kane. Inside the area, cuts it back. Good block. Kamara's cross, deflected. Was it? Oh no, he just overhit it, and it's out for a goal kick. Jordan Garrick has done the same trick twice on the same player on both wings. Herbie Kane is going to have a bit of a red face walking in at half-time.
Yeah, the beauty of having Garrick's pace is, you know, that threat to go in both directions, and although he's ended up going to the byline on both those occasions, defenders can't afford to let him come inside. He punished them earlier when they did that earlier in the game. So yeah, fantastic to see the confidence that Garrick's playing with, and it's been a joy to see in this first half.
Oxford goal kick. Won't have a lot more to play. We've gone over the 2 minutes that were prescribed. We're bouncing around in Argyle territory. Maybe it's Oxford that will have the last say of the half, but Houghton wins the ball back in his own territory and beautifully brings it under control, and then flicks it down the left-hand side looking for Garrick. Is he going to keep it in on the left flank? He just about is for the time being, and then it rolls out of play for a throw. And I suggest that's about all we've got time for. He's added 2 but continued to play on here, the referee. An interesting decision, unless our feedback about the 2 minutes is incorrect, and that's a possible. Thrown down the line, flicked by Taylor. Nice interchange between him and Henry. White is making the burst down the right hand side, tracked by Houghton. Back to Henry, who takes a touch to set, looks to cross it. Argyle think it had gone out of play. No, says the assistant, but Grant clears. Brannigan from a long way out smashes it forward, but he has no time to really do anything more as the whistle goes for the end of a very, very busy first half in Oxfordshire. It was Oxford United who started really, really brightly. Matty Taylor scoring after 5 minutes in an opening 10 or 11 minutes that was completely dominated by the home side, and it looked like Argyle, as league leaders, were going to finally have a real serious test. But Jordan Garrick's equalising goal on 11 minutes, really the first Pilgrims attack, as he came in field and slotted with a very accomplished finish into the corner, made it 1-1 after 11 minutes. From then on, a battle either way, chances at both ends, but Panucci Kamara struck a post in what seemed to be the best chance of the half other than the goals, until he popped up with another one, rolling the ball into the corner after a several-man Argyle move on the counter-attack. It means that the Pilgrims go in at half-time 2-1 in front. Ian Stonebridge, what do you make of that first half?
Well, it's a great watch, you know, really entertaining. Obviously it's nice when there are goals accompanying to it, and even better that it's Argyle that find themselves in front as we got to half-time. But after that, perhaps an early scare, you know, Oxford looking really accomplished in that opening period. The first few minutes of the game, shifting the ball with confidence, creating an opportunity and taking it. And at that point, you know, Argyle fans might rightly have been quite worried, but the way they came back into the game after the goal, you know, almost as we mentioned, the goal almost came from nowhere in terms of Argyle territorially. They hadn't really been forward at that point. Fantastic finish from Jordan Garrick, and we saw Luke Jeffcott linking up the play. And from that point on, Argyle really were able to establish themselves a bit more in the game. Oxford again, you know, different spells. Perhaps the middle of the half there was a point where there was a bit of to and froing. But again, we saw a really quick transition from Argyle. Again, some link-up play from Luke Jeffcott to create an opportunity for Panucci Kamara to show a fantastic finish and a great position Argyle find themselves in.
If anyone is struggling in any way to keep up, you're not alone. I should say that the graphics today are not being done by us. It's an iFollow production as far as you're seeing visually. And I did notice that after Panucci Kamara's goal that the caption came up, Oxford 2, Plymouth Argyle 1. I was like, no. They soon changed it. But it is a very busy game, lots of toing and throwing, and it does make me feel that we're in for a second half that will be similar. What will the message be from the boss at half-time in terms of how we can go about things, not only just seeing it out, but how to maybe try and gain a bit more control of the game, because I don't get the sense that either team is in control of this. Both teams are having good moments, not so good moments, attacks, defence, but no one's really in control. Argyle have just taken their chances better.
Yeah, Oxford clearly were in control at the very, very start of the game, but we need to make sure that the things that were a feature of their play at that stage, whether it was the fact that Argyle managed to sort that out and changed perhaps their tactical approach out of possession. We certainly saw that as they had more time in Oxford's half, you know, they were then able to get closer to their players, and you know, it actually became a feature of Oxford's Oxford's play that they went further forwards and actually, were taking more chances. That meant that Argyle were picking up the ball and able to start to develop their own attacks, even though their goal came from that counter-attack.
Coming into the game today, we looked at the team sheet and saw that it was great to see a returning Luke Jeffcott, but there was no Ryan Hardy. He's on the bench today, and when you don't have your top goal scorer going into a big game like this, obviously it's going to be a concern. Jordan Garrick asked to come in and play up front. I think perhaps we might have expected Kieran Agar to play, but maybe because of his 2 games in the last week or so, as someone that's been coming back from a long period without too much football, perhaps it was a big ask for him to play 3 games. I'm sure he played in the week with the boss's thoughts it was going to be back to Jeffcott and Hardy. But Garrick's got the nod. He's played through the centre. He's got a goal, but I think he's been about a lot more than that. What's your assessment of Jordan Garrick's first half?
Yeah, he's obviously come into the team and he's offered a threat. Is the first thing to say. He's offered a threat in behind, which Ryan Hardy also offers. But perhaps more than that, there's that variety to his game when he's on the ball, which he showed from the first goal. His ability to cut inside and a really clinical finish that he put on the end of that move. And then since then, we've seen the issues he's given to the Oxford defenders, perhaps in slightly wider areas. So again, it's that combination. Jeffcott perhaps coming slightly deeper, linking the play and combining him for both of Argyle's goals. Jordan Garrick perhaps stretching that defence and giving them a problem from a pace point of view.
We talked about Matty Taylor, the striker for Oxford, indeed Oxford's goal scorer today, about that kind of the old-fashioned nature, dare I say, of being a centre-forward that is really just inside the box. The old Gary Lineker way of playing, just being there to try and nick a goal. Argyle don't play that way. If you're a centre-forward for Plymouth Argyle, you can't play that way, can you? You have to do a bit more. And I think there might have been a suggestion at one point that, that was all Luke Jeffcott was about. He's just about a goal scorer. He's just about making near-post runs. And when it dried up last season, well, it's shown that he that's all he's about. I disagree. I think he's about more than that, or at least I think he's learnt to be about more than that, because I don't think we should underestimate his part. I think technically he's got an assist for both goals, but he is playing in a bit of a deeper role, or he knows how to come and play that part as well, doesn't he? The Argyle centre-forward way of being is very, very varied.
It is, and perhaps whether there was an argument you could say that last season, quite objectively, there's not an argument to be made on that front about Luke now. He's played a key part in both the goals, even though perhaps it's just 1 or 2 touches here and there. But other than that, he is showing that ability to come deeper. He is showing that ability to link up the play, and we've said time and time again how crucial it can be to getting the team up the pitch and to ensure that Argyle make progress and then have the ability to get the ball into wider areas or get the ball into goal scoring areas, really. So yeah, there's that variety to his game, and again, I'm sure it's something that the coaching staff have worked on with Luke, and it's something that you'd expect can be developed as he grows into his position as an Argyle striker.
I want to be clear that during the commentary I suggested that perhaps Luke's ball that led to the second goal was meant for Jordan Garrick, that was behind him. Having seen a replay, I just want to clarify, I very much changed my mind on that. I think Luke Jeffcott knew exactly what he was doing and was playing through into Panucce's path, who rolled it in. I want to come back to Kamara because I want to have a chat to you about him and his game in a little bit, but we'll have a little look at some half-time scores. We'll start in League One. We'll have a look at the Premier League. Might even have time to look at a couple of other divisions as well, because there's some FA Cup ties today also. FA Cup draw is tomorrow afternoon, folks. Stay tuned for that one. It's on ITV. I think it's around about lunchtime. I don't have the exact time. I know we're number 32 in the draw, so keep an eye for that tomorrow lunchtime. It's usually on a Monday night, isn't it, the draw, but they've changed it to a Sunday this season, so look out for that tomorrow. Here's a look at some Sky Bet League One scores then. It's AFC Wimbledon 0, Sheffield Wednesday 1, Bolton Wanderers 0, Wigan Athletic 1, Cambridge United 1, Ipswich Town 2, Cheltenham Town 0, Accrington 0, Doncaster 0, Wickham 2, Fleetwood 0, Crewe 0, Gillingham 1, Sunderland 1, Lincoln 0, Charlton 0, Rotherham 1, Portsmouth 0, and Shrewsbury 0, Milton Keynes 0. That's the scores so far in League One. Plenty of activity. It's quite a busy Premier League day, actually. Quite a lot of Premier League games as compared to a normal Saturday afternoon. We started with a bit of a drubbing at the Vicarage Road. Watford 0, Liverpool 5 in that game. Combination of that famous front three of Mane, Salah and Firmino scoring all 5 goals as Liverpool continue to go well. Aston Villa 0, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0 is a half-time score, as is Leicester 1, Manchester United 1, Man City 1, Burnley 0 at half-time there, and a couple of 0-0s, Norwich 0, Brighton 0, and Southampton 0, Leeds United 0. Brentford and Chelsea is the late kick-off today. We might as well go for it since we're doing scores. In the Championship, Fulham have beaten QPR 4-1 in the early kick-off, but it's Blackburn 2, Coventry 0, Bristol City 0, Bournemouth 2, Huddersfield 1, Hull 0, Middlesbrough 0, Peterborough 0, Millwall 0, Luton 1, Nottingham Forest 1, Blackpool 0, and then 0-0 in the remaining games between Preston and Derby, Reading and Barnsley, and Sheffield United and Stoke. In League 2, Bradford City 1, Bristol Rovers 0, Carlisle 0, Tranmere 0, Colchester 0, Harrogate 0, Crawley 0, Sutton 0, Exeter 1, Newport 2, Leyton Orient 0, Walsall 0, Northampton 1, Mansfield 0, Oldham 2, Stevenage 0, Port Vale 0, Barrow 1, Salford 1, Hartlepool 0, Scunthorpe 0, Forest Green 0, and Swindon 1, Rochdale 0. I won't whistle all the way through the FA Cup ties, for there are plenty, but if you're interested in the more local sides, it's currently Torquay 0, Haverton and Waterlooville 0, and Yeovil 1, Weymouth 0 is another fairly local game as far as the FA Cup goes. Lots of fun names I always like looking at when you get to the FA Cup qualifying. It's Bowers and Pitsea 1, Aldershot 0. They're the kind of teams that you might see in the draw tomorrow. Corinthian Casuals drawing with St Albans and the various other teams. I love the FA Cup. But more on that maybe in the coming week, because we'll see the draw tomorrow. Before we get onto the second half, we're probably 3 or 4 minutes away from seeing the teams come back out. I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about Panucci Kamara and his knack of turning up in the right spot. I think there's been 2, 3, 4 even times where he's arrived in the area, there's been a cutback, it's not quite got to him or a teammate. We've seen him from that position where he spun and he hit the post, then the goal. That is just so vital to a team if you have a midfielder that has that knack of just appearing. There's been various ones through the past. The 3 that I can think of off the top of my head: David Platt, Frank Lampard, David Frio. They're the ones that come to my mind. But it's so vital, isn't it, to have that? And if he can just add a couple more goals to his tally, he's going places.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously noticeable in that first half, and I think the first thing to point out is it comes as a result of the system that Argyle set up with. So having that back 3 and Jordan Houghton sat in front means that those players in front have the license, if you like. They have the freedom to go and join in. And as we've mentioned already, Argyle, certainly through this season and through that first half, perhaps developing more of their play down the left-hand side, does naturally perhaps lend itself to Kamara being the one that drifts in and gets forward from that inside right channel, if you like. But we also see Joe Edwards on forward forays quite frequently, and Ryan Broom's been a great feature of Argyle's forward play recently. So yeah, certainly the goal that Kamara's got today was a fantastic finish, and hopefully we can see even more of that from him.
You're someone that played with David Frio for pretty much all of his Argyle career, not far off anyway. What was he like to play with as a... You were a centre forward, let's say, pigeonhole you for the time being, but you were a centre forward, he was a central midfield player, but he had just that knack of just turning up at the right time. What was it like to play with him?
Yeah, I think as strikers, and often at home park, certainly for those home games anyway, we would play with 2 up front, and as strikers you always try and have that communication as to having the different areas of the goal covered, if you like, when a ball's coming into the box. So one of you would go near post, one might peel around the back and have the back post covered, and that's often leaves that late arriving midfielder the chance to kind of pick and choose. So that second striker who hasn't gone to the near post, the midfielder that's arriving might either go around the back and be there for a longer cross or an overhit cross, but also might be able to pick and choose that run through the middle where they're quite hard to pick up and can arrive at pace and be really effective. And I think that was something that David was certainly great at during his time here. But I suspect David would be almost the first to say that, again, he was able to do that because of the insurance policy of Stevie Adams behind him, often offering that support and that insurance should the ball come back out.
And that was a little bit, I don't want to say ahead of its time, but it was a little bit non-conventional, wasn't it? In a 4-4-2, which is what we're talking about here, certainly at home park under Paul Sturrock. The old way of playing with 2 midfielders was basically if one went, the other one stayed, and vice versa. You as a central midfielder, you generally could do everything. and David could play deeper and spray passes. But yeah, Stevie was not one for turning up for those sort of runs, was he? They did play as a defensive and an attacking duo in there. So it's not just, you're quite right to bring it up. So we're highlighting Panucci Kamara just now, but so much of what he's able to do is because of Jordan Houghton, and indeed before him, Tyrese Forner or Joe Edwards or whoever played in the centre of midfield with him.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, I think, perhaps it's as managers, partly dictated by the players that you have available to you, but I think certainly going back to that team, it was Paul Sturrock that perhaps recognised in Stevie Adams, who coming through the youth teams, I think had been more of a centre-back, recognising those qualities and applying them to a slightly different area of the pitch. He was able to be really effective at that. And, Jordan Houghton, his positioning, his reading of the game, allows that ability for the players in front to go forward and really, attack the cross and commit players and push Oxford going back the other way. Perhaps even further than that. Again, Stevie, as a modest guy, would probably look at Jordan Houghton and say that his job involves more, dictating play and creating Argyle's attack perhaps than it was Stevie's responsibility to do back then. But again, different players and they bring different qualities. And at the moment, this mix of players is certainly bringing the goods for Argyle.
Yeah, we don't quite yet have teams out for the second half, so we'll just continue with that chat for the time being. I will come back to today's game as soon as we have action going on at the Kassam. But one final point on that specific quality that we're talking about with both Panucci and with David. Can you teach it? Is it just an innate sense? Maybe you can hone it, but maybe you have to have a certain amount of it? Because I'm not certain if we sat the pair of them down here right now. First of all, I don't know if David can speak Portuguese or Panucci can speak French, let alone speaking English, but would they know what they're doing? Is it just sometimes it's just the kind of thing that you can't really explain, you just happen to have a knack for it?
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily something that I would describe as innate or natural, but again, perhaps it's something that is developed through kind of repeated exposure to those sorts of games, exploiting those opportunities, having times when it doesn't work and learning from that. And again, whether that's something as a footballer you're able to articulate and describe, perhaps not, but it's something that is learned and is developed. The ability to, if you like, sense and read and work out where those opportunities are going to arise and to arrive at the right time. To me, it's a skill and an ability that can be developed. Yeah.
Interesting stuff, fascinating discussion. Thank you for delving a little bit deeper with us on that one as we chat through half-time. Players are out on the pitch. We're about ready to start the second period. Just before we do, as the referee is just doing all the final checks, we've just had an attendance for this afternoon. Official attendance is 8,877, 8877, and officially 1,784 is the Argyle travelling attendance. Sold out officially several days ago. Wonderful travelling support from the Green Army. As I mentioned earlier on, when your nearest game is as far away as Oxford from Plymouth, it does show the travelling that they have to do, and always travelling, great numbers, great voice, but in particular today, it's only a statement for the team getting to number one in the division, bit of a statement from the fans as well. I spoke to an Oxford United friend of mine last night and he couldn't quite believe the numbers in which we were travelling in, but well done to the Green Army. Let's turn our attention back to the pitch as we start the second half, and early on Grant looks down the left flank looking for Ryan of Garrett. This one goes out of play for a goal kick, and we saw that Oxford very much got on the front foot in the first half and dictated play for quite some time. Yes, Argyle sort of weathered it and have got themselves back in front, but they won't want to have to do that again, because it could be a long 45 if Oxford do get in control of it.
Yeah, they won't want that to happen again. And again, it will be really interesting to see at the start of the second half the impact of the respective team talks.
Flick on by Garrick on the left-hand side means that defender Thornley had to come all the way across and mop that one up. So Argyle do have a throw-in on the left-hand side. Grant tries to pick out Garrick again. It was underthrown. And Oxford clear. Tough one here for Scar. Bouncing ball as Taylor puts him under pressure. Sends it back to Cooper. Low drilled ball out from him. Picked up in the centre by Gavin White. And will eventually fall to Sam Long, the Oxford right back, looking to switch play to his fellow fullback Seddon, which managed to chest that quite a long way, did Seddon. Argyle partially clear. It'll fall to Taylor, edge of the box, tries to tee up. And I think it was White on his right hand side, but Argyle clear. Jeffcott sent to the deck around the halfway line. Nothing given. Oxford have it once more at the back and once more with Long on the right-hand side. Looks to build into the feet of Henry. One back by Houghton, then by Broom. And Argyle win their own throw down the left-hand side. More evidence of that trio in the middle, at least a couple of them there, Broom and Houghton, doing what they need to do and getting bodies in the way. And they've managed to win Argyle a throw in on the left flank. Here's Grant, just inside the opposition territory, thrown down the line. It leads to another throw as they will creep down the left-hand side. Grant again. Looks down the line this time for Jeffcott joining in, although Garrick stuck out a foot and won it. It's led to another one. This is attritional down Argyle's left, but gradually effective as Connor Grant now has his third in a series of throw-ins. Garrick spins away from his man. I think it'll be a goal kick. He thinks he was fouled by the retreating Gavin White, but I'm not convinced that was the case. Goal kick. But you can see the extra man coming across there to try and look after Jordan Garrick. Oxford are trying to mark that card nice and early in the second half because he's been a big threat to them.
Yeah, they're definitely doing something different there. You know, he showed particularly towards half-time in those particular areas that it can be a real danger. So Oxford looking to snuff that out as early as they can.
Long shadows now in that particular part of Oxfordshire as the right flank, as far as Argyle is concerned, is bathed in sunlight, and out of that sunlight comes Luke Jeffcott looking to win a header. Didn't quite get there. Taylor for Oxford out to his left, and now down the left-hand side comes the slight figure of Holland, but he's got himself into the box. Brilliantly done by Holland. Oh, and he's rolled it across the area, and he hit it too hard for Taylor. Grant mops up and clears away. Doesn't quite fall to Garrick, and Oxford have it at the back, but he did everything there. Nathan Holland, he buzzed between two players. They couldn't lay a glove on him because if they were going to touch him, he'd go down. Rightfully so, because he put himself into a position, and if he takes 75% of the power on that ball across, then Matt Taylor taps in from 2 yards. It was just an overhit cross, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think there's probably two perspectives there. He's put it in a great area, so whether he's entitled to think that somebody should be there or whether you think he's close enough to pick someone out, either way it was a dangerous situation for Argyle.
Taylor gets into the box again with Henry. Long with a cross from the right hand side. Old Cooper came for it and stopped, and then the header was won by an Oxford player coming in at the far post. I think it was Seddon, the left back, and Seddon was sudden as he arrived, but it was just ever so slightly behind him. I think he expected Cooper to get something on it, and then in the end he was sort of caught under the ball a bit, wasn't he, Seddon, and headed over the top. It was only from about the edge of the 6-yard box. I think he would expect to score, but credit to Joe Edwards putting him off, and I think the pace of the cross also was a bit of a tricky one, but Oxford are starting well here.
Yeah, they are. Teaser of a cross there in the way that it's curling away from and over Mike Cooper, making it really difficult for him to deal with, and yeah, fortunately enough, Argyle defenders doing enough to put the player off.
Here they come again, down the right-hand side. It's Gavin White, who looks like he's playing wider on the right in this second half, tries to tee up the run through the centre, blocked off by Gillespie. Argyle clear. But similar to we saw in the first half, it's Oxford who press Argyle early on, and whenever the Pilgrims clear, the ball is just falling to a yellow jersey. Brannigan to his left. Seddon tees up Holland again. That was a bit heavy, and Kamara can win that and strides away. What a sudden burst by Kamara over the halfway line. Oh, his ball in field is cut out though, and now it's Oxford's turn once again, using Seddon on the left flank. This time his pace of the ball to Holland is better. Brannigan, some 30 yards out, gets past a couple, sends it to his right. White, Kane, and now Henry lets it come across his body, shoots. That was plenty wide enough. I think Cooper would be happy to let James Henry shoot from that distance more often than not, but it's another shot from Oxford, and we've played 6 minutes in this second half, and that's already the third time we've really had to think about an effort on goal of some description.
Yeah, they've started brightly again, shifting the ball, picking up the loose balls as well at the moment, and Argyle really need to kind of start to impose themselves on this half without Oxford having too many more of these opportunities.
I just can't get hold of it at the moment. There's Gavin White just nicking the ball away from Gillespie. It's gone away for a goal kick. We literally have played 6.5 minutes in this period is all, and it's been a real burst from Oxford United so far. I imagine if there are any neutrals within the 8,877, that they're enjoying themselves immensely, because it is a very open game, and you certainly wouldn't be surprised if there was at least a couple more goals in this.
No, you'd expect that. Again, it's Argyle's turn now, perhaps to settle down and give themselves a chance to start the second half themselves. They've not really been allowed to so far.
Gillespie plays it out to Conor Grant, halfway line, left-hand side for Argyle. Kane comes across to deal with him and blocks it off. He does not have the hairline of a 22-year-old, does he, Herbie Kane? He's not been blessed follically. He's a good player. He came across there and blocked off Grant. We might have to do so again. Grant inside this time to Gillespie, looking for a channel run of Garrick. Once again, I'm not sure if he might have been in an offside position going through early. The referee allows it to go through to Stevens anyway. And Oxford with the ball at the back, having started this second half brightly, but they still trail. It's Oxford United 1, Plymouth Argyle 2. Robert Nicholl and Ian Stonebridge with you on Argyle TV this afternoon, as Argyle look to protect that lofty position at the top of Sky Bet League 1. Here's Kane, gets away from Conor Grant, a man who started his career at Liverpool, besting one that started at Everton. Grant has actually stayed down after that. He's just going to get a bit of treatment just inside the Argyle half, or the Oxford half I should say. Not quite sure what happened. A bit of a whack in the face possibly, I'm not really sure, but as he's being treated, it's probably a good chance to have a little look at the benches, starting with Argyle's. Should there need to be any changes this afternoon, there's a couple of very notable figures on the Argyle bench for one reason or another. But the full Argyle bench: Kieran Agard, Callum Burton, Brendan Galloway, Ryan Hardy, Will Jenkins Davis, Ryan Law and Danny Mayer. There are options there. At the moment Argyle are leading, and they'll be happy with it, but if you need to bring someone on and change things around, there are worse options to have than Argyle's bench today.
Yeah, absolutely, and importantly, you know, several of them in positions in their season where they should be quite confident. You know, we know the goals that Ryan Hardy's already scored. Agard getting off the mark in the game recently again, which is key for a striker's confidence, and Danny Mayer again really affecting that game on Tuesday night before he went off at half time. So yeah, plenty of options there.
Oxford have options of their own, which we'll come to after this attack, because they have the ball here with Taylor infield to Kane once again, looking to thread a ball through. To his right is Long, cross from the right hand side. It's a really nice ball. It fell nicely the way Scark had headed away, a bit higher or a bit lower, and then Oxford had two players coming through, and then a little push on Kane means it's another free kick to the home side. Kane tries to take it quickly down the right. Long sweeps it to the far post. I think the referee's brought it back, has he? I'm not quite sure. I think it was taken from the wrong place. Argyle wouldn't have been very happy with it initially, but then after the cross was overhit, it wouldn't have been such a problem. But I think we're going to come back for that free kick, which Kane took while the referee was still getting himself sorted. 10 minutes played in this second period. Oxford having easily the better of it, but no goals to show for their fight back thus far. Oxford 1, Argyle 2. Free kick is probably 40 yards out, maybe a little bit further. Certainly don't anticipate a shot for James Henry, but he's delivered a few decent balls in from these sort of ranges so far. As the Oxford player tries to slide this one through to Taylor, he just couldn't quite get it right, as ever so slightly overhit, and it's gathered by Cooper. But they've got some inventiveness from their set pieces, in particular for James Henry.
Yeah, they have. They've clearly got an intention to play quickly. They've done that a couple of times, and once or twice been stopped by the referee. But I think it was a quick free kick that actually led to their goal in the first half. So Argyle need to be on their toes and need to be set up early in order to deal with it.
Deal with it they did that time, and the ball is around the halfway line with Joe Edwards. Heads it up towards Garrick, and Kamara's a bit too eager to win that. That's a foul on Brannigan. And again, Oxford are looking to take it quickly. They do so. They've gone backwards with it, but it's obviously a tactic, isn't it? They've done it more often than not, so it's clearly something they're drilled into by Carl Robinson. Argyle win it back once more. Broom heads down to Houghton. That's hit the referee. Has he allowed it to go on? I think the rules are you've got to stop the play here. Argyle don't mind, because they're buzzing forward on the left-hand side with Conor Grant. Can he pick a ball out towards Kamara? Not quite. Broom half wins it back, but then Kane shrugs him off and runs forward. Oxford have a free kick as Broom trips Kane on the retreat. My understanding of the rule now was that if the ball hits the referee, you have to suddenly stop it, and it's the play goes to whichever team last had the ball. That nearly benefited Argyle, but had we scored from that, I rather feel Oxford would have been a bit frustrated, don't you think?
Yeah, there might have been a few questions asked there, but yeah, again, you know, a nice break forward from Argyle. Luke Jeffcott running in near post and cross coming in, trying to pick out one of the people arriving behind him, but not quite there on this occasion.
Seddon for Oxford. Thornley and now Elliot Moore, the captain, central back. Long and then White dropping a bit deeper. Now Kane, a lot has gone through Kane today. Barnsley man on loan. Very accomplished, and now here's Brannigan. And Kane again. Picked out though by Gillespie, and now Argyle look to counter. Houghton crosses the halfway line, plays it to Kamara, gets it out from under his feet. Really well done by Panucci Kamara. Edwards, edge of the box, clips it in. Jeffcott's header, similar to a chance he had in the first half from the other side, where the ball was perhaps ever so slightly behind him. Couldn't quite turn his header on target, headed it over the top. But it was a nice Argyle break, and you wouldn't want to give, if you're a defence, you wouldn't want to give Luke Jeffcott too many of those chances.
No, you wouldn't. And again, perhaps it's the fact that Jeffcott's in there, almost leading the line, looking for that ball across the front, that he's actually had to just check himself on that occasion, and perhaps just behind him or just a touch too high, and again a tricky one from his perspective. But again, a promising break, nicely set up by Houghton and Kamara there, with Joe Edwards getting forward to push the ball.
It's almost like from that particular position with Jeffcott that he's almost having to jump and pivot his head, where you kind of want to step forward onto it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, clearly.
In an ideal world.
Yeah, clearly there's a benefit to arriving onto it in terms of transferring that power into the effort at goal. But yeah, on that occasion, having to try and generate it himself, and I think it was probably a touch too high, and hence it didn't get a good connection. Good
to see Argyle up that end though, having been pegged back for much of the game so far. Speaking of Jeffcott headers, he's tried to play it to his right there towards Edwards, ended up heading it back towards his own goal. Argyle deal with it, but it's back with Holland, who tries to go on round Wilson. Doesn't do so successfully though, and it's an Argyle throw. Plenty of attacking options have Oxford, and it does look like in this second half. I see Henry's popping up a bit more centrally and White playing to the right hand side, so they've sort of switched their supporting midfielders around a little bit. I did promise you a little look at Oxford bench as well, which I'll do so in a second, but Garrick has it down the right hand side. Two around him, comes in between them, but the ball trickles away and Thornley clears. Scar battles with Taylor and wins it. Kamara tries to flick it around Seddon, but Seddon wins it. Now suddenly there's an Oxford break on through the centre to White. The run is through from Henry, tries to slot home, he's pulled it wide. But it was a great opportunity. James Henry, as I said, he's popping up in more central positions, and that time he couldn't have been better suited. When Argyle's attack broke down, it meant that suddenly Oxford had men over, and White played it in towards Henry, who had run off of Houghton. I think he will feel he should have got that on target at the very least, don't you?
Yeah, Houghton just perhaps a touch on his toes there, or wrong-footed by the midfield runner. Maybe it's the fact that he was so central there that not able to get an angle on, and sends a shot wide, fortunately for Argyle.
It was Henry there, James, who was looking to turn the screw on Argyle and get an equaliser, but he couldn't quite get there. Argyle free kick now for a foul on Wilson. And I did just mention that at Oxford bench, so it's Dan Adjie, Billy Bowden, Anthony Ford, Alex Gorin, Matt Sykes and Ryan Williams. Lots of different options there, quite a lot of midfield players, but Bowden is an experienced forward. Adjie often comes off the bench as well. I think all of those players are midfielders or attackers, so if they have an issue at the back it might be a real issue. But here comes Edwards down the right hand side, tries to play it near post for Jeffcott, got his toe in there first. It's gone behind, it's a goal kick, but it's one of those Luke Jeffcott runs. Edwards had played it in towards Garrett, continued his run, no one went with Joe Edwards, and then as Kane came across to try and block him, he knew he couldn't do anything about it because he was going to arrive late. Jeffcott got in front of his man, did everything he could there really, but in the end it was just the angle, wasn't it? He got his touch on it, but he'd run out of space, and it ends up going just in front of the near post. But a great Luke Jeffcott run.
It was really nice interplay on the right hand side to create the opportunity, and if given Luke's young age, if we can call that a classic Luke Jeffcott run or not, I'm not sure, but it was certainly an area we've seen him arrive at on multiple occasions, and just able to stab the ball wide on this occasion.
Oxford at the other end, crossing from Long, flicked on at the near post. I think it was Henry again coming in. Taylor missed it, and Henry appearing, just couldn't quite get there. I mentioned in the first half, he's got 5 goals this season. James Henry has had his chances to make it 6 today. He may well have more to come. We've still only played 61.5 minutes. There's bundles more of this cracking League One encounter to go. Although I don't mind it getting boring and staying as it is, quite frankly. But Oxford continue to catch the eye going forward. They play through the centre. Covering is Gillespie, rolls it back to Cooper. His clearance is not the best, and it's headed forward by Long. Gavin White, right hand side, looks to attack Connor Grant. Comes inside of him, plays it, lays it off to Henry, who steps it one more to the edge of the box. Shot comes through. I think it was Brannigan, blocked by a couple of Argyle players. Long from the right, crosses in, headed away. Wilson it was that did so. And Garrick tries to help it up the field, and does so to an extent. But Elliot Moore steps back in, the centre back, and comes a long way forward towards the edge of the box. Plays it to White, gets his shot away. It's wide. He never really got full contact on it. In fact, I'm not sure if a retreating Argyle player just got a little touch on it the split second before White made contact, and it made him take it with the outside of his left foot, and it dribbles wide. But still they come, Oxford, and Argyle will not want to have to deal with this for another 28 or so minutes.
No, it was a really effective foray forward from Moore there, drawing Jordan Houghton across, which created space in the middle of the pitch there, and Kamara just a bit behind the arriving Oxford player there. So, you know, out of the two teams, it's certainly Oxford in the ascendancy at the moment, and Ryan Lowe will be thinking about what he can do to disrupt this at this moment.
He will. It is his team that lead, though. That's the most important metric. If Argyle can find a third on the break, that would be quite something. But Oxford continue to push, and they have the ball inside their own half here with Nathan Holland. Cuts in field, the on loan West Ham winger. Has to go all the way back, and now Kane has dropped beyond his back four, but he's been increasingly influential in this second half. Herbie Kane. And now he has it again. Elliot Moore across to his left. Jordan Thornley, the on-loan Blackpool man, goes long, but picked up by Argyle, knocked on by Kamara, laid off by Jeffcott. Kamara wasn't able to quite get to that one. It was just under hit by Jeffcott, and brought away by Seddon. Tries to play it forward, and it will fall kindly here to Henry, bursting on the right-hand side, gets inside the area, drives a shot, and finds the well-populated home end behind the goal. But James Henry appears to be, since he moved into a more central role in this second half, he's a bit of a menace, quite frankly.
Yeah, he's been able to run off of Argyle's midfielders and found himself in some really good areas. And again, you know, at the moment Oxford wasting those opportunities, but Argyle really need to stop that happening, because sooner or later the law of averages are going to suggest that it's going to go in the net. So yeah, something really important for Argyle to address there.
A little bit of praise there for Dan Scarr, I'll give, as he got across to just do something about that and force the shot to be fired rather than placed. Now Argyle are making a change, just over 25 minutes to go. Ryan Broom is replaced by Danny Mayer. One assumes like for like in the centre of Argyle's midfield. If you've got a fresh Danny Mayer to give Oxford a few questions to ask on the back foot. They haven't been on the back foot very much in this second half. If we can get Danny on the ball, I'm sure they will be. But here's Oxford going through again through the centre, cleared away by Scarr. Our graphic just popped up. Ryan Broom yellow card. I think someone hit the wrong button there. I think that's just Ryan Broom coming off. I think someone's getting a bit trigger happy. But Broom replaced by Mayer. What can he offer Argyle in this last 25 minutes? Because it's an interesting game for him to come on to, because Argyle are winning. You wouldn't necessarily say he's the kind of player to shore something up, but he will offer some fresh legs going forward. Argyle need to get the ball in the other half.
No, it's an interesting change, interesting decision from the management team there, in terms of, you know, arguably it's an attacking change if anything. You know, we talked in the first half about Ryan Broom's effectiveness, you know, positioning wise, and his busyness as a defender. Arguably Danny Mayer offers slightly more in an attacking sense for Argyle. So maybe their attempt to disrupt Oxford's good play at the moment is through perhaps getting the ball into Danny Mayer and trying to create something going in the other direction.
The intuitive thing is, when you're winning you bring on defenders to shore up, and when you're losing you bring on forwards to get a goal, but it doesn't always work that way, does it? Sometimes you need to see a little pattern, and we'll see how effective this can be. Connor Grant coming down the left hand side, beats a couple, just tried to play it in towards Garrick. It was just the angles were wrong there, weren't they, for Garrick's run and Connor's pass. No real blame attributed, but just the way they fell, it wasn't ideal. Grant getting forward to good effect there. Houghton wins a header in midfield. Returned with interest by Thornley. Scarr has to retreat, but gets the call, I think, from Cooper. Allows the ball to go through. Cooper bowls it out underarm to James Wilson on the right hand side. Comes infield, looks to then go and hit a channel. There goes Garrick, doesn't quite get to that one. Brannigan drops deep in the midfield and gets hold of the ball for Oxford. Back to their goalkeeper, who goes long. Scar misjudged it. Henry manages to make a run through beyond. Houghton tracks him all the way, so Henry checks back inside, but goes to Taylor. To his right, Gavin White lets it come across him, cuts in field, left-footed shot. What a block that was. I think it was Scar. And eventually Gillespie just gets something on it and hooks it out of play for a throw-in. Well, Dan Scar made the initial header, tried to head it backwards and didn't get enough on it, but he did recover enough to put a block in there, and it was a vital one, Ian Stonebridge.
It was, yeah, but perhaps too many of those last-ditch blocks happening for Argyle at the moment. Again, it's another effective break by Oxford, perhaps created by Argyle's carelessness in defence, but nonetheless they really need to get a grip on this at the moment.
Jeff got putting Moore under some pressure, trying not to foul him. Moore did quite well under the pressure, really. Hooked it clear. Gillespie heads in field. Kamara tries to bring down a very difficult dropping ball and isn't quite able to do so. Seddon, head down, sets off on the left-hand side. Gets across the halfway line but has to check back because Kamara has snapped at him the whole way. Kane inside the centre circle. Laterally to Moore. White again trying to find a little inside right pocket. Kane switches to his left hand side. Really nice ball to Holland. Here come Oxford again. Holland attacks with purpose on the edge of the box. Tries to tee up the shot for White, but Argyle win it back, and then well played by Houghton. Was he caught as he played it forward? I think he was. Argyle free kick, and it's one thing to have the ball here, but it's quite another. Houghton has stayed down, and I'm not certain. It might be a little bit of tactics about that, just to break this play up a little bit, because with 21.5 minutes to go, Oxford are really, really pushing.
Yeah, they are. I think you've got to be fair to Danny Mayer there. He's actually made a really, really good interception and shown that by tucking in from his left inside position, he was able to nick the ball away there and create the opportunity for Houghton to draw the foul. So, yeah, it's Oxford in the ascendancy as they have been perhaps for most of this half. So again, you're looking really for Argyle to do something that's going to disrupt that and try to establish themselves, despite the fact they have this lead to hang on to.
Argyle will restart with a free kick just in front of their own area. Oxford have made a change. They've brought on Mark Sykes. He's another player that played in a couple of positions. I think it was Gavin White that went off, but Sykes he wears the number 10, which gives you an indication that he's a relatively attacking player. But he can play in the centre of midfield, but he'll probably be more suited to playing wide on the right. Well, Mark Sykes, Belfast-born player, although he's just declared his intention he wants to play for the Republic of Ireland, is a former Glenavon player. Signed for Oxford in January 19. He's been in and out of the team several times, but he is an experienced player at the age of 24. And will give another option, some fresh legs to Oxford as they respond to Argyle's own substitution. Ball is with Oxford's goalkeeper inside his 6-yard box, pressured by Jeff Cott, and smashes it long through the centre. Looks for Henry. Kamara knocks it into the channel for Argyle, cleared away. Argyle throw on the halfway line. 20 minutes to go then. Oxford United 1, Plymouth Argyle 2 here on Argyle TV. Can the Pilgrims extend that unbeaten run to 12 games? Can they nail down that position at the top of the division even more? Ball forward looking for Garrick. Didn't win the header, but does well on the loose ball, and then Kamara flicks it through to Jeffcott. Outside him to Edwards. No one really in the middle at the moment. Waits for someone to arrive. Cross is deflected. Falls into Danny Mayer. Doesn't quite get his foot through it. Drags it a little bit wide. It was a tricky one, to be fair to him. It was just a dropping ball on the turn. But Edwards just had to pause, didn't he, as he went to cross that ball, because the good work of Garrick and Jeffcott to win it back meant that they weren't quite in the area when Edwards wanted to cross it.
Yeah, sometimes in the need to get up the pitch, obviously both strikers getting involved in the link-up play there.
Chance here for Garrick moving forward. Kamara comes past him inside the area, drives a shot. Good save by Stevens to his left. Bit of a sudden Argyle break there. They would want it back. Kamara involved in winning it back, and then Thornley just way too eager to win it back away from Garrick. Possibly the ball in front of Kamara just made Panucci Kamara just check, but it was a decent effort, although you'd expect the goalkeeper to save it at that height.
Yeah, you expect the save to come there. Garrick, nice use of his body to kind of ease the defender out of it, although there was certainly an element of mistiming in the defender's part there, but another good chance for Argyle, and hopefully they can start to use this to turn the screw in the second half.
Corner from the right hand side. Jordan Houghton will take it. And it comes, clipped in towards the near post. Scar attacks it, it's headed away, fired back in by Grant, but that's pulled way wide and will be an Oxford goal kick. And you can see the eagerness in which Stevens wants to take it. He's ended up rolling it short to, or passing it short I should say, to Moore. And Oxford smash it down the right hand side, but that should be easy enough for Scar and Cooper, although the bounce just didn't favour Mike Cooper as he tried to clear it then, and he pulls it out for a throw in. Oxford doing everything at double speed now, just trying to get themselves going. They probably would feel that the dominance that they've had in this second half would have been translated into an equaliser by now, but a combination of their profligate finishing and Argyle's resilience means it stays 2-1, but there is 18 minutes plus whatever is to be added on for the home side to try and preserve their own unbeaten home record. We're going to have another throw. Carl Robinson is turning into a ball boy, trying to get hold of a ball and take it quickly. Sam Long, but he has to go backwards to Moore, and he plays it in turn to his own goalkeeper. Interesting to see if we see Ryan Hardy at all, Ian, because he's obviously not in the team in the starting 11, but the fact he's named on the bench makes you feel that he should be up for a certain amount of this game, but at this stage no movement for him from Ryan Lowe.
No, again, you'd hope that anyone on the bench is obviously able to play some kind of a part in the game. So yeah, it would be interesting to see if he does look to use him towards the end of this fixture. Garrick's obviously been effective so far, and he's still looking sharp in the second half. So perhaps no real reason to make that particular change at this point in time.
Wilson wins the header, goes to Edwards, tries to hook it along the right hand side. Kamara allows it to come onto him as a good flick header. Garrick tried to play it to Jeffcott, didn't quite get hold of it. And Kane for Oxford in his own half tries to play the ball in towards Taylor, but would fancy Gillespie to get this one first, which he does. Long towards Jeffcott, that ends up going through to Stevens. Oxford's possession and attacking dominance in this second half should give them hope that they can find something, but that was a quick ball forward there by Kane. They've gone against their normal way of playing, but then they did that for the opening goal, didn't they? They went a bit more direct. Down the left they've gone with Seddon. Combination of Kamara and Edwards get the ball off of Oxford's left back. But once again it goes to Kane and then to Moore. It feels that every time Argyle win the ball back, it just seems to fall to a yellow jersey straight away, doesn't it? I think we have to accept we might be set in for the final 15 or 16 minutes here and just try and have a green and white wall to keep them out. Here is Sykes, the substitute. To his left, Seddon, Brannigan, in towards the feet of Henry. Tried the little flick to his teammate, didn't come off, but it still falls to an Oxford shirt. Argyle clear, and now Mayer picks it up inside the Oxford territory. Nicely done by Kamara. Garrick, oh, that looked like a foul as he was clipped on the way through. Referee says play on. Kamara has the ball, switches it to the left. Connor Grant. Danny Mayer wants it infield, gets it. Back out to Grant. Is he going to cross as he gets about parallel with the area? Mayer takes over. Grant and Mayer, lovely interchange between the two. Danny Mayer slows it down on the left-hand side. Grant, Mayer again. It's just that these two playing their own game here. Mayer again to Grant. Crosses across the 6-yard box. Defender comes and clears it. Defender and goalkeeper not in sync there. But Mayer and Grant certainly were. That was I don't know how many 1-2s they played there between the two of them, but they were playing their own little game. It led to a nice little teasing cross across the near post.
Yeah, great to see a little 2 against 3 there, with the two coming out on top and a good ball, creating a bit of unease in the Oxford box.
Nice ball here from Mayer in towards Garrick. He's got his back to goal. He wants to turn. He can't quite do so. Goes back to Gillespie, who's joining in. Mayer. Argyle have 2 left wingers at the moment. Here's one of them. Mayer, he's got to the byline again. Keeps it in. And again slows it down. Plays it back to Grant. Whipped into the near post. It's flicked on by an Oxford head. Back in by Houghton. And then suddenly a foot through the ball from Brannigan gets the ball clear. But for the first time in a little while, it's Argyle who pick up the loose ones. Edwards knocks it forward. Garrick was unchallenged. I don't think he knew that, but then he wins the next 50-50. Tries to run onto it. Goalkeeper should meet that. I don't think he knew that first ball, Garrick, that he was so free, did he? He might have been able to bring that down.
Yeah, perhaps a little bit of extra awareness on his part, or some good information from the teammate there. He definitely had the time to try and get hold of that at least. But slightly more promising spell in the game for Argyle. Oxford possession more recently, not necessarily leading to those clear-cut chances we saw at the start of the second half. So hopefully this can be the pattern from now on, and Argyle can see this game out.
And that'll be one of the reasons, won't it, for Danny Mayer having come on, was that when Argyle can get it in an attacking area, he's someone that will want to, caress the ball, look after it, protect it, and when we can have the ball. But Oxford have it again at the moment, and Long pushes forward on the right-hand side. Nice ball in the channel towards the edge of the box for Mark Sykes. Takes a couple of touches, tries to play it through, didn't quite fall for Henry. Argyle clear, and here is Mayer again. trying to get away from Kane. Little pirouette in his own half, but safe. And plays it once again to Grant. Inside to Kamara. Argyle on the break here down the left. Jeffcott approaches the area from the left-hand side. Squares up Elliott Moore. Can he get inside him and get a shot away? Or can he get down the line and get something across? Deflected! Oh, it wasn't far away, you know. Well, I thought it was deflected. The body language suggested it might be a goal kick. Perhaps it was just a screwed cross from Jeffcott. I thought it had come off the defender and over the top, but it wasn't terribly far over the bar. Jeffcott was just waiting for that little slid ball in behind, which he couldn't quite find, but good to see Argyle pushing forward again, though.
Yeah, and nicely developed there. Danny Mayer showing his coolness on the ball, you know, in Argyle's half, quite deep in Argyle's half, in fact, to kind of start that move off for Argyle, and then ending up with Luke Jeffcott perhaps in an area where he's perhaps not hugely familiar, but trying to create that opportunity for a cross or a shot. It didn't quite come off.
Kane plays it back towards Seddon. Difficult one for him to bring down, but a nice touch from a dropping ball by Seddon. Comes infield. Holland was being held onto but carried on, and a nice interchange by Oxford. Could be onto the ball here again. Holland gets past his man, gets into the box, crosses, cleared away by Gillespie. Right position for Gillespie coming across and playing auxiliary full-back. Wilson knocks it up the line, it's blocked out, and it's an Argyle throw-in. But again, that's a nice interchange. They've got some real ball players, Oxford, haven't they? Their movement is good, their interchanges are good. You get the feeling, I sound like I'm bigging up Argyle here, you know, to an immense degree, but I get the feeling Oxford would play against most teams this season in this manner and would be leading at this stage.
Yeah, and you could argue had they taken their chances that they would be ahead in this game, but fortunately for Argyle, their finishing has been, you know, not to the standard they would have wanted today, and so we're still in the lead here as we see this change happen.
Yeah, here comes the substitution that we were partially expecting. Jeffcott it is that's going to come off, and he comes off and is replaced by Ryan Hardy. We've got 79 minutes on the clock having been played, so Hardy on for the last 11 plus whatever is going to be added on. We normally deal with qualifications much more than an 11 plus in this part of town. Argyle doing a very, very good job thus far. Long ball forward, looking for Hardy for the first time. Falls to Kamara. Garrick sees the player coming on his left-hand side, just waits for Seddon really, and then plays it backwards to Joe Edwards. He's got Houghton inside. Houghton wants the ball. Edwards decides to go to Garrick, who manages to shrug his man off, then tries to come in field. Tackled by Brannigan. Argyle throw right in front of the Green Army, who are enjoying their afternoon out. Hearty applause for that piece of Argyle play, and now the singing that will be ringing in Joe Edwards' ear as he takes this throw in will be very nice to hear for the Argyle skipper. Wilson down the right hand side just tries to flick a ball through. Didn't much come off for him there, but it comes out for an Argyle throw. Exactly 10 minutes to go of the 90. Oxford 1, Argyle 2 here on Argyle TV as the throw in comes towards Hardy. He does a good job of keeping the ball alive. Edwards again wins an Argyle throw. Now we've got a long time to go in this game, 10 plus whatever is added, but this is a good way of entering the final phase with Argyle having the ball, a series of throw-ins, just trying to make sure they control their own narrative as this game finishes.
Yeah, as much as anything, it's nice that Argyle are kind of in possession of the ball and have a little bit of forward momentum of their own. So yeah, they'll be looking to continue this.
Edwards throw. Hardy, Edwards, Garrick, nice play from Argyle. Garrick inside the area, tries to spin, does so. Can he get the shot away? I think it was just a bit of a tension on him as he managed to do so that made it very difficult, and he screws it well wide, but not dissimilar to the opening goal, well, Argyle's opening goal anyway, from Jordan Garrick, just playing some nice twisty-turny football inside the area. We're about to see another change from Oxford, but before we do, that was a nice bit of play between the Argyle forwards there, just didn't quite come off for Garrick.
Yeah, on the opposite side of the box this time, you know, obviously he was cutting inside onto his left foot and not able to get the shot away in the same way as he did for his equaliser. But again, Argyle creatively working that throw in there and able to generate an opportunity inside the box.
Another Oxford sub, they brought on Dan Adji, and he has come on for James Henry. All of his appearances this season in the league have been from the bench, Dan Adji. In fact, he's made 58 league appearances for Oxford and 46 of them have been off the bench. That shows his how he tends to play. He can play through the middle or out wide, but I suspect he'll be asked to run some channels alongside of Taylor, and here he goes doing that straight away, getting to the byline. I thought for a second he was fouled by Dan Scarr. Nothing given. Goal kick to Argyle, and the referee is going to have a chat with both Sykes and Taylor here. I think their complaint is not only that Scar brought the player down, but also that they know that Scar's on a booking, don't they? So had he been censured there for that tackle, he might have been running a fine line, but no foul, says the referee.
Yeah, Dan Scar does need to be careful, and perhaps he's been a little bit cute in the way he's managed that situation by going down himself. But yeah, important thing for Argyle was it wasn't given, and gives him a chance to get up the pitch.
It's Cooper in Oxford, another well-named game for Mike Cooper, home of the mini of that name, as he fires down the right-hand side towards Hardy. Seddon returns it with interest, looking for the substitute, the fresh Dan Adji, but well won by Scar in the air, and Houghton, who always has his head up on a swivel, plays it to Mayer. Nice ball from him through a little crowd of players and out to Connor Grant down the left-hand side. Garrick is making the run into the channel, trapped all the way by Elliot Moore. Mayer again comes in field, 2 men on him, tries to spin, blocked off from doing that, but keeps hold of the ball. Has to go backwards to the halfway line to Gillespie, but Argyle keep it. Nice retention. Gillespie in towards the feet of Hardy, turns to his right. Kamara, centre of the park, goes to the left towards Mayer. Grant's run in front of him into the box here, left hand side, cuts it through. Kamara, yes! Argyle are 3-1 up. It was a lovely move, patient down the left hand side, and there he is again. He's the man of the moment, Panucci Kamara. We spent most of half time talking about those timings of those runs. He's picked out by Grant, a lovely lead from Garrick, and Kamara smashes it into the roof of the net with about 7 minutes to go. Have Argyle given themselves the daylight they need? Oxford 1, Plymouth Argyle 3.
Oh, it's a fantastic goal. Argyle breaking so effectively, and in contrast to Oxford's wastefulness in front of goal today, Argyle with perhaps the fewer opportunities, but the ones they have had, they've taken with great precision, and a fantastic move again there, finished off. Connor Grant really picking someone out on the edge of the box there, and Kamara arriving and with a fantastic finish.
I'd love to go back and find out just how many passes there were in that move. It wasn't like 30 or anything ridiculous, but there was a good, well into the teens, I would imagine, just patient passing from Argyle, moving Oxford around, waiting for the right moment. And that little interchange between Mayer and Grant, they made the same run, that they were basically on each other's tracks, but just a little toe-ended ball from Mayer into Grant, and it was an early cross from Connor Grant, a little cut back. Let me just see what happens here with Oxford as they go down the side. Sykes with a cross, blocked off, corner. But I thought he'd taken it a little bit early. Then I couldn't understand why Garrick wasn't hitting it, but he obviously got the shout, didn't he, from Kamara, who came in, and a lovely finish.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see, the players with that much, I guess, the creativity and the combination play that we saw as part of that move. Like we said, moving Oxford around, waiting for that opportunity, and perhaps the difference that Danny Mayer makes with that threat and that creativity, finding Connor Grant.
Oxford will want to hit back, corner from the right-hand side. Kane swings it in, it's headed, it's bounced down towards Adji. It'll fall for Sykes, still in the area on the left-hand side, trying to give himself an angle. I think that's a goal kick. Kamara got his foot in, but he's doing it in both areas now. Panucci Kamara, having scored Argyle's third goal, wins the ball back there sufficiently, and it leads to an Argyle goal kick as we enter the final 5 minutes, and we do so with a 2-goal cushion that seemed unlikely for most of this second half. If you were a betting man, you would have suspected that the most likely team to score the 4th goal of this game was the home side, such was their pressing. But Argyle have kept going, have kept playing trying to do the right thing, and the goal from Panucci Kamara might just have done enough. However, I recall commentating on the home game between these two teams last season, and when Oxford made it 3-1, saying they probably killed the game, and Argyle scored almost immediately straight afterwards. Here's Sykes down the right hand side for Oxford, gets the cross in, whipped into the far post in front of everybody, out for a throw the other side. We've seen maybe 3 or 4 of those from Oxford where there's nothing really wrong with the ball, the delivery is in the right kind of area, but it's either been a bit early or the runs have been a bit late, or whichever way you're going to slice it, they've just not quite been on the same wavelength.
Yeah, as it leaves the foot on multiple occasions today, from Oxford's perspective, it looks like a really, really dangerous ball. A couple of them have flashed right across the front of Mike Cooper's goal, but again, no one arriving at the right time. In contrast to Argyle's opportunities today, where we have seen Panucci Kamara arrive bang on schedule to give Argyle this 2-goal cushion.
3.5 minutes of the 90 to go, plus whatever is to be added on. Argyle have a throw in with Joe Edwards, and he'll go up the line on the right hand side. Hardy flicks on, Oxford return the ball, but Houghton deals with this one in towards Garrett, touches it down for Kamara over the top towards Hardy. Oxford deal with it. Long at the back, Hardy now who's fresh, forces Long into the mistake, and that goes out for a throw, and that's the kind of thing that happens, isn't it, for Oxford when you're tired and it's not going your way, but for Argyle when you've got that little extra boost. When you must score a goal at that late in the game, you must get that little adrenaline rush with it as well. Argyle will feel fresher than Oxford right now.
Definitely, you know, you've got even more to protect, and Ryan Hardy able to come in with those fresh legs. You know, it means that extra bit of pressure on the defender as he's trying to pass or clear it, and can force errors.
Throwing down the left-hand side by Gillespie. Headed on by Mayer, then by Garrick. Oxford deal with it. Seddon, all he can do is go long. That's just a lump up the centre, but it's a good flick on by Taylor. Might fall for Adji, edge of the box. Scar, good interception. Blocks it, clears it. Then Brannigan tries to run it through, and it's Edwards this time. That was an even better tackle from Joe Edwards. Argyle try and pass it out. A rare loose ball by Houghton. And that's got to be Kane in the centre for Oxford. On the right-hand side is Long. Taylor has pulled out to the flank. That's not where Oxford will want him. They'll want him in the centre. Long's cross, difficult to deal with, but Edwards heads clear. Up in the air by Brannigan, and then a good attacking header from, well, attacking the ball anyway, from Wilson. It falls to Seddon wide left. High cross to the far post. Difficult one there for Macaulay Gillespie, but he does really well to hook it away, with Taylor coming in behind him as we enter the last couple of minutes of the 90. Kane infield. Brannigan about 40 yards out, dead centre, has to go backwards, has to use one of his centre backs, Jordan Thornley. Brannigan takes over. Give it to me, he says. What can I do? And he's going to spin it out to the right hand side. Good ball. Long tees up Kane. Mayer bought the fake cross, played in towards Sykes, down the right hand side for Long. Nice position to cross across the middle, and this time Mike Cooper grabs it into his chest and holds onto the ball. It was another dangerous ball in for Oxford United, but Mike Cooper deals with it, and with 1 minute to go the ball is in the Argyle goalkeeper's hands, and so is this game, Ian Stonebridge. Yeah, great to see. Safe hands from Mike there. You know, Oxford developing a number of opportunities, eventually crossing along the ground, and Mike able to grasp that in and send us up the field again. Kamara nods it down in midfield, tries to get it towards Hardy. Oxford win it back, and again they come out down the right hand side. Sykes running at Gillespie, making him backtrack all the way. Gillespie keeping his eyes on the ball, not committing. Did well enough there, did Gillespie. Sykes back to Kane. High to the far post, looking for Seddon. Tries to hit a volley as the ball dropped to him. Blocked by Argyle, but won back by Brannigan. Edge of the box, opens up his body to shoot. Did one too many things. Argyle block it, but it's still in the D. Might fall for Adji. Doesn't. Falls to that looks like Galloway. When did Galloway come on? I didn't see him come on. But it's Argyle have a free kick. We weren't shown that one, unfortunately. So suddenly Brendan Galloway just appeared, but he's on the field and winning Argyle a free kick as we enter injury time in this game. Given that we weren't shown Galloway coming on, I'm not hopeful we'll be shown the amount of minutes either, but Argyle will be able to have control as this injury time period begins. Cooper to take the free kick. Well inside Argyle's territory. He hits it long down the left hand side, looking towards Hardy. That was overhit and it's out for a throw in. Galloway is on for Conor Grant, by the way, on the left hand side of Argyle's defence. Here's Seddon. Trots forward, gets towards the halfway line, has to go backwards. Well done by Argyle marshalling this ball. Still Oxford have it, but still they have to go backwards to their goalkeeper. 3 minutes, I'm told, have been signalled. We've played one of those minutes. And Scar wins a header in the centre. Falls to Holland, and he manages to keep hold of the ball with Kane, but again they've had to drop into their own half here, Oxford, such as Argyle's pressure. Just they're giving Oxford the right amount of rope here, letting them have the ball but not letting them break through, or at least not so far. Brannigan out to the right hand side for Long. He's got Sykes with him, plays it to him. Sykes from the right hand side crosses across the 6. Great block by Scar. Back out to Long, in it comes again. Did Mayer lift his hands up to block that? It's a corner. So his hands were, I could see the appeals, put it that way. We saw that one rather quickly, so it's impossible to tell. Would have been a big decision to make, wouldn't it, from the referee? He's given a corner. Kane to take from the right hand side. clips it in high to the far post. Headed back across into the air. Cooper under pressure. I think a free kick's been given. He was battling away with Matt Taylor. And Cooper held onto the ball. He did well, but even then the goalkeeper, even then the referee has given him a free kick. So Argyle will breathe another sigh of relief. We're into the final minute with the 2-goal cushion. Starting to look good. Can I breathe a little bit now, do you think?
Let's not do it too early.
Let's not do it
just
too
wait.
You're quite right. Cooper knocks it long towards Garrick, headed forward by Moore. Edwards for Argyle looking towards Hardy. Neither side can really keep hold of the ball. Scar high down towards Hardy on the right hand side. That goes out for a throw in. It's in front of an absolutely jubilant Green Army. If you'd have done a little poll of the Green Army after the first game of this season, after that game against Rotherham, I think we would have expected to pick up after that display, but maybe not to quite this extent. What a great fun season this is to this point. And it's just a case of seeing out this afternoon for 3 more lovely points. Here's Taylor for Oxford, plays it to his left. Holland tries to attack the area, come in field on Edwards, but Wilson is there doubling up. Seddon joins in, gets the cross in, blocked by Wilson, corner. The 3 minutes are up. We're going to have an Oxford corner, which looks as if it's for a consolation more than anything. And all Argyle can do really here is do their job and just continue to repel Oxford like they have done for almost this entire second half. Most of it has been played in Argyle territory. Kane's corner, great header by Scar, and the whistle goes, and Argyle's unbeaten run stretches to 12 matches away to Oxford United. We said this might be the toughest examination of Argyle's season so far. They have come through with it with every qualification and flying colours you could possibly say. They had so much thrown at them this afternoon. I'm going to go on record and say I think Oxford are about as decent a team as I've seen going forward this season to play against Argyle. I thought they were excellent at times, and that says so much about this result. Argyle win 3-1 at Oxford United, having gone a goal down inside the opening 6 minutes. What about that, Ian Stonebridge? There's some great play, some great goals, but also some great resilience to this Argyle performance this afternoon.
Yeah, there was. There had to be. You know, like you said, you can see why Oxford have got such a good record at home this season, and perhaps why they scored 5 in their last home game here. So, you know, it's great that Argyle weathered the storm today. You know, Oxford and their coaching staff can be disappointed that they weren't able to capitalise on the chances they did create, but at the same time, you can credit Argyle with their defending, and the fact that they were, you know, much more clinical than Oxford with the chances that did come their way, or the chances they created for themselves rather. So, you know, a fantastic result for Argyle. You know, particularly perhaps not that Argyle weren't at their best, but they did come up against a really good team today in Oxford and have come out well on top.
Sometimes you're just not allowed to be at your best. If you're playing against a really good side, you're just not going to dominate the way that, for example, Argyle did for the first half last week against Burton. It was one-way traffic. Burton then adjusted and gave us a game in the second half. You're not going to get too many games like that in League One, are you, where you're allowed to play the way you want to play? So you have to adapt to that, and I'm sure that Ryan Lowe would have a look at today's game and say we probably conceded too many chances to Oxford. Another side might have grabbed a goal or two and might have made it different. So it's not all plain sailing, but you can only ever do what you can do. And to win 3-1 at a place like Oxford United, unbeaten at home so far this season, playoff contenders over the last 2 campaigns, it's another statement win, isn't it? If you're the division and you're saying Plymouth, top of the league, that's not going to last. Every time that you beat another team and you come up against another obstacle and you can see them off like this, I bet there was a lot of people. By the way, Argyle were top of the league going into today's game, and Oxford were 5-6 with Sky Bet to win. They were odds-on favourites to beat the league leaders. People still aren't convinced that Plymouth Argyle are promotion contenders. Are you?
No, we were obviously putting the proviso on Argyle being top, that it's dependent on games in hand or whatever. But you know, Argyle have the points. That's why they are where they are, and it's another fantastic result. So, you know, perhaps teams and other people are going to start taking slightly more notice. Again, it does mean that Argyle are up there to be shot at, and it becomes difficult to stay up there. But so far, they're certainly showing that they're more than capable of doing that. Perhaps the pleasing thing from Argyle's point of view are some of the performances that we've seen this afternoon, you know, in addition to those that we expect from players that we've seen so far this season.
In particular, this is a kind of Argyle team actually where singling out individuals very much like the team that you were part of under Paul Sturrock. It was a very rare occasion where it was all down to one man. In fact, very few good teams are down to one man, but you know what I mean, don't you? There are certain teams who have got an obvious star, and this team doesn't. And there's absolutely games where you say, how many players were 7 or more out of 10? 6, 7, 8, 9, loads of them. This was another one where you would look at the whole team, but I do want to bring out two individuals that we talked about, both of them at half-time, but for different reasons. One, Jordan Garrett being asked to do a really tough job. Didn't see a lot of him in the second half, but that's the way the game fell. But getting a goal and playing the way he did in the first half under really difficult circumstances for him. But then Panucci Kamara, who I consistently go on about how much I love his all-action displays, but I want him to add a bit more in terms of finishing. Well, today he hit a post and scored twice. I can't ask a lot more than that, can I? Those two were outstanding, weren't they?
They were, and I mean, Jordan Garrick in particular. The thing I did notice in the second half was he almost always still seemed to have the energy to chase and harass the Oxford players, and perhaps picking up possession or generating possession for Argyle in areas where it was a bit less notable, and we know that Argyle had less of the ball in the second half than they did in perhaps their good spell in the first half. So yeah, Jordan Garrett getting through an enormous amount of work today on and off the ball, getting his rewards with that clinical finish in the first half. And yeah, fantastic to see Panucci Kamara arriving with 2 goals there, and again, giving Argyle those options, if you like, or that confidence that we know that Ryan Hardy's their top scorer at the moment, but that goals can come from different places in this team, and certainly if Argyle are looking to sustain this promotion bid, that's something that's going to be key as the season progresses. As
indeed is the squad. We talked about it not being an 11-man game. It's about a bit more than that. It's about a squad. Just looking, forget the nature of the game, forget the nature of the reasons that people are in or out. When you look at that bench and you say that you can bring on 3 substitutes, and they're Ryan Hardy, Danny Mayer and Brendan Galloway, and I know there are reasons for it, either it's illness or recovery from injury or international duty or whatever. On other weeks they'd be in the team. But those 3 individuals would get in most League One teams' starting 11, wouldn't they? So to be able to have them as a substitute options is absolutely terrific.
They would, definitely, and as the season progresses, it's nice for the managers to start to have those sorts of selection problems. We know that perhaps today there are other reasons that have dictated the starting selection at least, but as time progresses and we see other players that could be prominent for Argyle throughout the rest of the season come back into contention, again it gives the manager and the coaching staff a problem to think about, but it's a good problem, and it's great to see the strength in depth that Argyle are starting to show.
It absolutely is. Before we leave you this afternoon, we do need to have a little quick look at what else is going on in Sky Bet League 1. Argyle do retain top spot, but the top 5 in the division, I believe at least, have all won today, so it's pretty well status quo. Let's go through the scores before we turn our attention to the table itself. Wimbledon 2, Sheffield Wednesday 2, Bolton 0, Wigan 4, Cambridge 2, Ipswich 2, Cheltenham 1, Accrington 0, Doncaster 0, Wickham 2, Fleetwood 3, Crewe 0, Gillingham 1, Sunderland 2. Sunderland had a man sent off there at 2-1, but they managed to hold on. Lincoln 2, Charlton 1. Charlton's terrible start goes on. Oxford 1, Argyle 3. Obviously, Rotherham 4, Portsmouth 1 is an interesting one for us. Rotherham are in 5th place and very much contenders as well. And Shrewsbury 1, Shrewsbury 1, Milton Keynes 0. It means that the table reads pretty much as you were. Argyle top on goal difference, 2 goals better, 2 goals scored more than Wickham, but having played a game more on Argyle having played 13, Wickham 12. Then Wigan on 25 points from 11, as are Sunderland. Rotherham 23 points from 12. And then it's Milton Keynes, Sheffield Wednesday and Burton all on 19 points. It's very early in the season to be talking in those sort of terms. I'm being a bit overly forensic there, but we know it's very tight. We know that if there is a promotion bid to be had, that Argyle are going to have to sustain this all the way through, because there's some very, very good teams in the division. But we can only do what we can do at this stage, and it's another fantastic victory. Again, I've mentioned it before the game, but I'm going to say it again. The psychology of being top of the league, there is something in that, isn't there, that knowing we are the team that are there and building that confidence, not the complacency, but the confidence of not only topping the league, but playing like your promotion contenders.
Definitely, the result today, bolsters that even more. The argument before that Argyle perhaps have had some games against teams lower down the table, Oxford today, showing that they're a team that, you know, is likely to be contending at the right end of the table, you know, come the end of this season, and Argyle really coming out with a fantastic result. So, you know, it does build that confidence. It builds the fantastic atmosphere around the club. You know, there's a really good positive feeling about this team and about the club as a whole at the moment, and should be a fantastic game to come back to on Tuesday night when Argyle have Bolton visiting them.
Yeah, absolutely. A good time to segue onto that. Argyle playing Bolton Wanderers at Home Park on Tuesday night. If you are able to get to Home Park, please do. Argyle on a streak every game so far this season has been in excess of 10,000 in attendance at Home Park. It was nearly 12 for the last home game. It's the first time Argyle have actually sustained it to this point of the season with all attendances in 5 figures since 2007-8 under Ian Holloway, when Argyle were pushing high in the Championship. So fabulous support by the Green Army. Thank you to all of you, wherever you are in the world, for your support, but in particular those that have been getting along to games. Please do so on Tuesday if you can. Come and watch the league leaders in action at Home Park. Go to argyletickets.com is the best way to get yourself a ticket, but all the other usual places as well. Do bear in mind that as the attendances go up, and particularly for evening games when people are trying to get in from work, the earlier you can get to Home Park, the better. Is an excellent approach to have, but we want to see as many of you as possible. If you cannot make it to Home Park on Tuesday, you can join us on Argyle TV. It's one of those games that we can screen for you wherever you are in the world. So if you are a domestic listener today that you're unable to watch today's game, you will be able to watch and get the match pass on Tuesday night. So go to pafc.co.uk and in particular find the links to Argyle TV for more information as how you can get an individual match pass to watch Plymouth Argyle versus Bolton this Tuesday. We will have our usual pre-match as well, so from 6:45 on the Argyle YouTube channel you can join Erin Black and the rest of the gang as we get prepared for that game. That's all for free. You can watch that build up, and then we'll take over with about 15 minutes before kickoff to take you through the game. I cannot wait to be back at Home Park for that game. It's the kind of stage of the season, Ian. But what is it like as a player? I bet you just want it to be Tuesday already, don't you? You just want games to keep on coming when you're in this sort of form.
Yeah, that excitement and the atmosphere that we know is a great feature of Home Park, or for those floodlit games in the evenings. It's something now with this momentum and the positive result coming out of today's game that Argyle's players will be itching to get out and put on a great performance in front of the Green Army.
Another fantastic Saturday here on Argyle TV. I could absolutely get used to this. Here's to another 30 odd of these, and then it'll be almost a perfect season. Thank you very much to Ian Stonebridge for joining me this afternoon. Thank you to you, wherever you are in the world, for your continued support of Argyle TV and indeed our great club. A club that happens to be top of Sky Bet League One. We leave you this afternoon on Argyle TV with the score: Oxford United 1, Plymouth Argyle 3.